I don't remember hearing the saxophone part. It's pretty fucking good. Joel, my husband wants to get approved for bag of sweet consumption, and I'm also cutting back. Oh, I didn't know you needed a. Rachel Reinecke, welcome back for 2 months. The better stop caught. All right. Sorry, that was the H3H3 Productions full theme song produced by Major League Wobbs. Anyway, I thought it was the perfect Blanky Mode Engage song. Blanky Mode Engage would be a great band name. Blanky Mode. I'm just tucked into bed and ready for the creepy stories to lull me to sleep. Let's go. But first you gotta let this oboe take you where it goes. And Randine Basosa, welcome to the Butter Sock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoa, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot my tea. I cannot forget about my tea. That was cringe. Thank you. Thank you. I do my best. I played with the Wii U, the Nintendo Wii. David De La Rosa with a $2 arena says, hi Joel, how are you doing? I'm doing great, David. How are you, my friend? Thank you so much for your donation. It's always good to see you. Now you got a name for your band. There you go. Blanky Mode Engage. What is my thoughts on the Latinx community? Are those people that have considered themselves Latin but have extradited association? I have no idea. What's my favorite kind of tea? Well, the kind I'm drinking now was suggested by you beautiful people with the throat coat. And it's pretty good. It's definitely served its purpose and absolutely coating my throat. Jasmine is good too. Instead of blanky mode, how about Snuggie mode? Do y'all remember the Snuggies? Yeah, dude, they should make a Snuggie, but like a weighted blanket Snuggie. Joel is the throat goat. I am the glizzy goblin. There's a Philippine X too. What even is it? It's people who leave, they were Filipino one time and then they became something else. They moved to Thailand and became Thailandian citizens. About to hop in my Snuggie and listen to some strange. Joel, your new podcast on Spotify got me through a road trip to Colorado, so thank you. You're welcome, Amy. Did you happen to pass by, what's that hotel from The Shining? You sick, man? Do I sound sick? I don't think so. You hear that? It's a perfect breath. It's the best breath. It's the absolute best breath. Best breath you've ever heard, you've ever breathed. Folks, you're not going to get a better breath than this. You're going to get it on a 3 count and a 4 count. The Stanley Hotel. Yeah. Stanley from The Office. Oh, the Overlook. Yes, April, that's it. I remember. A little strange for some change. I'm here for the strange for a change. Don't make me rearrange your brains with my blicky, 'cause it's gonna get icky when I get that sticky in me. Just like a really like calming beat, but you have like the most violent lyrics ever. Really, it's really a lodge in Oregon. Oh, okay, interesting. Oh, you thought I was drinking throat coat. That's why I thought you were sick. Too much reading, eh? Well, yeah, the throat coat definitely helps to a large degree. To kind of soothe things over. Yo, I'm about to join because I have 4 different accounts I have on here. Now this is the 5th one, and the 5th one is my Oculus. Bob Ross, oh my god. Now that's a name I've not seen in quite some crime. He's back for the turkey stories. He only comes once a year. Turkey stories, and that's it. It is I, your dwarven brother, Brumhael Stonehammer III. Hello, Brumhael. You going to read scary neighbor stories soon? I want to submit a story about mine. You should. Yeah, either way. You can send it to... what's my email again? Let's read submissions@gmail.com or on the Let's Read subreddit, reddit.com/r/Let's Read Official. The stream is equivalent to an average day in Ohio, filled with corn. You can see me? Can I see you, Andrew? I think so. Yeah, please harass that like button. Give it a nice cat call, if you would. You sent a donation. Did it go through? I don't see it there, Otter. Maybe it's a bit of a delay, but yeah, if I ever miss a dono, don't hesitate to let me know now about it. But Butts McCracken, welcome back for 2 whole months in the Buttersock Call. You still have access to bonus content. Yeah. Can you do some ads? Yeah, let me read some Raid Shadow Legends ads real quick. Tickle the like button. Give it speak sweet nothings into that like button's holes. VP Dixon, welcome back, or welcome to the Buttersock Call. You now have access to bonus content. Love a good ad. The pregnancy is draining my energy. Ugh, I'm mildly dehydrated too. Oh no, mildly? Unfortunately, no Stanley Hotel, but next time when I go up there, yas. Okay, good. This sounds like mall music. Dude, your mall's fucking lit. My mall just plays like tornado siren sounds to let everyone know to get the fuck out because there's toxic waste at every turn. Fucking mutant man-eating beasts in Spencer's. And not just the employees. Believes in unicorns with a 5. Says, it's me. I was the one who recommended. And now that I have bronchitis, I am almost out of my box. Oh, shit. I'm sorry to hear about the bronchioles. But thank you for suggesting it, unicorns. I will remember. I'll remember. I'm pretty sure your mall just plays smooth jazz covers of Celine Dion. I know, yeah, like... I always have like a vision of like certain like model walking songs that they would play at. Remember that one store back in the day, Hollister? It looked like a fucking Legends of the Hidden Temple in there. It was so fucking dark. You couldn't even like see where you were going. You get lost. Find yourself as a contestant. I'm a new subscriber, I don't know what's going on, but good vibes. Yes, so there's a little timer on the top right. Usually we let people kind of wander in as they get the notification for the first 20 minutes, but we got 8 minutes left. And then we'll switch over to a more spooky reading atmosphere and read some spooky dooky stories. SJ Curtis, welcome back for 11 months, almost a year, says... Do you come up with ads or did they script it for you? Because it sounds like you're super into all of them, but you are really, can you say? Yeah, so I write, I write all the ads that I do. That's kind of like the stipulation that they would have is you have to put it in your own words kind of thing. What would you give advice you give to someone who wants to make a career out of YouTube? Yeah, maybe you can tell me what specifically you're trying to do and maybe we can like think tank that approach, you know what I mean? Because obviously every YouTube subgenre is a little bit different than the others. At least for me, and my success was a lot of like collaborations with other channels that gave me a shot, you know what I mean? Whether it was reading a story on their channel or reading some part of their documentary script, you know what I mean? Some spooky slam poetry, hell yeah. Fucking seismic slam poetry. Can't wait to see the shenanigans. It's going to be very, very shenanigan-y. You guys been to a mall lately? I went to one and like every other storefront was empty. I know, that's a sad thing. This is post-apocalyptic America. All of our malls have been abandoned. Oh, your name actually is Shenanigans. The embodiment. What's up, Galactic Biatch? Puppies? Where's Puppies? Hey, Mary. This is a good song, damn. What's this one called? Bell Tower by Mama Otto. I like this. Anybody here make music? Music is fucking cool. I'd love to go to America. Yeah, Madden, where would you go? Or where are you from? Joel, I have 2 black kitties. I call them the twins. It's spooky season for all black kitties. Does Pradeep have an orange collar on? He should. He hates collars though, or anything around him or on his being. He is currently laying at my feet near on a backpack. His backpack, covered in his scent. Music is fucking cool, dude. SJ, you make music? Nice. You have to tag me in something. Oh, Matt. I guess I should have guessed that. Oh, Madden from Ireland. I've always wanted to go to Ireland. It seems pretty freaking sweet. Hey, Axeman says, I watched a beekeeper video where he dismantled a hornet's nest. I shouldn't have done that. Why is it tempting you to go dismantle some horny nests? Kind of funny, yeah. Speaking of hornets, and we were talking about The Shining too. In the beginning of The Shining book, where I'm at least, he was talking about removing this wall hornet's nest or something from the roof. And then I guess there was like at some point somebody else like was doing the same thing, and you know, hornets attacked him and he like fell off the roof and died. You're a metal vocalist for Bastard Blood. That's a cool name. And then like after he does like a bug bomb on the hornet's nest, he keeps the nest inside of Danny, his son's room, just because the son wanted it. And presumably the hornets are dead, but then in the middle of the night, like a bunch of hornets like come out of the thing and attack him. So I thought that was kind of a weird thing, but I don't know. It's sort of like the preliminary shit to like creepy stuff happening at the hotel. What would you guys recommend in the U.S. to visit? Yes, I mean, the thing about the U.S. is like, it's so fucking huge, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, if you think about the differences between Ireland and, you know, more southern UK, it's the same thing, you know what I mean? Anywhere you go, whether it's like northeast United States, the south, you know, the panhandle of Florida, Texas, fucking out west, Midwest, you know, the four corners, like there's just so much random, you know, different subcultures and shit to do. Like obviously you could go to, you know, New York City and have the soul sucked out of you if you'd like. Hey, Water and Fire Tarot, what's good? Now I was traumatized by that scene from The Shining where the kid wakes up and they were all in his room. It's no good. Yeah, was there, I heard that there was also a TV series of that book, and I kind of want to watch that compared to the movie. Not Boston. It's crazy violent right now. Is it? What's going on in Boston? Ireland is stunningly beautiful. Yeah, I'd love to see the castles and the coastline and just the atmosphere. And the thing is, though, if I go somewhere like, you know, out of the United States, it'd be nice to have somebody who's from there be able to tour me around. Did you ever watch the second Shining movie? I did. I was not a fan of whatever that was, because it was just like such a departure from the original movie, at least. I don't know about, maybe that was the intention of Stephen King's writing, but it just felt corny to me. It felt like a vampire movie made by Disney Channel, and it felt like it was like filmed by a Disney production company. Can you do a Pinhead impression? I don't even know who is Pinhead? Who in the heck? A lot of stabbings in Boston. Well, what the hell? You gotta bring a sword with you wherever you go, so you can fend them off. Another minute, my friends, and we will kick this off. Wait. Oh yeah, Pinhead's from like those creatures from another dimension, right? Pinhead from SpongeBob? Wait, is he the one? My leg! Who you calling Pinhead? Pinhead Larry? Oh, Hellraiser. Okay, yeah. You're so disappointed in me, Joy. You're kidding me, Doctor Strange? Yeah, I didn't think Doctor Strange was very good. I don't know what to tell you. I thought it was, like, compared to the original movie, at least, I thought it was very corny and just, like what the fuck? People flying around and going through dimensions and, like, sucking the life out of each other. Like, what the fuck is this? Twilight? Like, compared to, like, the super symbolic, like, hyper nuanced, you know, ambiguous fear of the original Shining, like, that shit is silly. It was, like, literally silly. But as far as the book goes, I didn't read Doctor Strange book. I just meant because your voice and candor. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think the one from Hellraiser, like, welcome to hell. I can't even remember what the fuck he sounds like. Pinhead from Hellraiser. Here we go. Best quotes and scenes. Dude. Holy shit. When they, like, all appeared, she's got, like, fingers in her mouth, and they're all just fucking, like... Oh, yeah.
The box. You opened it. We came. Oh no, it is a means to summon us.
It seems that they add some sort of effect to his voice, but Dr. Sleep and the Steamy Vampires. Yeah, like if they would have named it that movie, not told me it had anything to do with the original Shining, I wouldn't be any the wiser from watching it. You're gonna make me join a Wiccan cult. Jen, please have mercy upon my virgin soul. Alright, friendos. We're switching over to Spooky Screen. Once again, if you like that playlist there, it's called Let the Leaves Fall, Calm Lo-Fi Beats on the Dream Hop Music YouTube channel. What's up, Kai? Good to see you. That sounds corny as fuck. Whole cornfield.
Alright, friends, time to get in the mood. Evil. I can turn evil on the drop of a hat, because I'm so naughty.
Wiccans are the most innocuous of the pagan creeds. That sounds dangerous. We better take them out. Kelso, no worries. We just started on the Spooky Screen, so perfect timing. Once again, we got Home Alone stories here, friends. Thanks for being here. Click share, click like, all that good stuff. It does help. Lets everyone know that I exist. That I matter. Let's get it. Wait, let me make sure my memory card is freaking clear. Yep, we're good. I'm a single dad to a wonderful daughter who's been the light of my life from the very moment she was born. It would be an understatement to say things weren't easy after her mother passed, but we made it through the grief together, and that had strengthened our family bond. My daughter had since grown and flown the nest, and we've always had a great relationship. But when she was growing up, I found myself gripped by fear that I'd end up losing her too. Sometimes that terror of loneliness was just background noise, something I managed to ignore by busying myself. Other times it was overwhelming, and I'd become so overly cautious and protective of her that sometimes I feel like I failed her as a father. She missed out on a few field trips, a handful of her friends' birthday parties, and a whole lot of play dates, all because I was just too nervous to leave her alone in a place that I wasn't familiar with. It got to the point where, around the time of her 13th birthday, I realized that I'd never left her. Oops. My favorite part in Hellraiser, the girl opens the box to beat Pinhead, and he's all like,
"No, don't do that."
Yeah, he's just kind of like motionless there.
Wait, you're not supposed to fight back. What the hell?
Let's get this bread. Let's get this cheddar cheese. How many stories? I believe there's 5 or 6 today. I believe something like that. That worked when she was younger, but then the older she got, the more she appeared to... Wait, oh my bad, I skipped a whole fucking paragraph. Ched or cheese, you decide. Sorry. I have to burp. I just must absolutely burp. Pardon me. It got to the point where, around the time of her 13th birthday, I realized that I'd never left her... Why can I not? I can't, see this sentence. I realized that I'd never left her home alone. It got to the point where, around the time of her 13th birthday, I realized that I'd never left her home alone before. Even when it came to short grocery store runs, I'd insist that she'd hit pause on whatever she was doing to join me on whatever errand I was running. That worked when she was younger, but then the older she got, the more she appeared to resent being attached to my hip. The whole thing culminated in a small argument one day when was... DSTMO, thank you for the 2. Glad to catch the stream. All I got today. No worries, my friend. Good to see you. Hey, Amy, take care. Peace out. The whole thing culminated in a small argument one day when she was insistent on me leaving her at home so she could finish off some homework while she was still feeling Oh my god, this is like, I don't know. It's like the sentence confuses the fuck out of my brain. Do I interact with chat? I do, Nicholas. What's up, homie? The whole thing culminated in a small argument one day when she was insistent on me leaving her at home so she could finish off some homework while she was still feeling studious. My words, not hers, by the way. I won the argument, and she had a face like thunder during the ride to the grocery store, but I started to wonder if I should be relaxing my policies as she got older. A few months later, after a long period of reflection, I walked into her room and told her that I was making a quick run to Target to pick up a few things. She groaned, slumped off her chair, and moved to put her shoes on. Then, with theatrical timing, I told her that I would be going alone. She smiled, the kind of smile that brings a lot of joy as a parent. It was a smile that marked a milestone in both of our lives. She was growing up, and it was time to start giving her some space. I know it might sound pretty dumb, but I actually got a little emotional while climbing into the driver's seat and edging out of our driveway. The whole kids growing up so fast thing is for sure overused, but it's overused because it's true. By the time I got to Target, I'd fought back all the tears, and after repeatedly telling myself everything is going to be fine, I actually began to feel a semblance of calm. Then, as I'm walking up and down the aisles, picking up odds and ends, I feel my phone start to vibrate in my pocket. I pull it out and see it's my daughter calling me, probably to ask me to pick up something for... The vibe in this channel is everything, thank you. I do be trying to vibe. Rachel with the 5 says, Joel, can't stay again, but I wish you a great live and a great night. Thank you, Rachel. You guys are really nice people, honestly. Perhaps a little too nice. I like your song, Headlights. Wait, whose song? I don't make music, do I? Hey folks, I'm a big fan, but honestly cannot afford to join and become a member. Does anyone have it in them or the means to bless me? Well, Saint, my friend, the gifting process is kind of random. So unfortunately, I don't think you can gift, like, I don't even know if YouTube allows that, like the ability to gift like specific people membership. But I do believe if you hang around and that eventually happens, I think it increases your chances of getting a gifter. And hello, Squawk. Long time no see, my friend. Do I like Mr. Nightmare? I do, yep. I pull it out and see it's my daughter calling me, probably to ask me to pick something up for her. I press the green button, bring the phone to my ear, and before I can even say anything, all I can hear is screaming and crying. I just left the shopping cart where it was, sprinting out of the store and back towards my car. Then as I was driving back to the apartment, I tried calming her down and getting her to tell me what was happening. She just kept saying, I don't know, I think someone shot a gun. My next question was, are you hurt? And when she replied, yes, I just tossed my phone down, got both hands on the wheel, and then started speeding back towards our apartment. Minutes later, I was only 2 blocks from my apartment when I saw flashing lights in the rearview mirror. I felt sick as I realized that I was faced with 2 distinct choices: run from the cops to get to my daughter and risk getting myself shot or something when I jumped out of my car to run inside, or pull over, try my best to explain the situation, and temporarily condemn my daughter to her fate. To some, that might seem like a real conundrum, but to a parent, absolutely zero thought is involved in the decision-making. You help your child, there are no other options. I never thought that I'd ever get into an actual police chase in my life. Aside from a few parking tickets, I've always walked the line and stayed firmly on the right side of the law, so the fact that I was gunning it away from a cop car, praying they'd understand my reasoning, it was surreal in the extreme. I raced the 2 blocks back to my apartment, skidded into my driveway, then got out of the car with my hands in the air as the cops raced in. I gotta pee so bad, but my kid is taking forever in the bathroom. Law, this is why I want a house with 2 bathrooms. Sounds like you gotta kick it down. Am I a Lazy Masquerade fan? Yeah, absolutely. Lazy Masquerade. Misa loves Sam. We stand with Sam. I raced the 2 blocks back to my apartment, skidded into my driveway, then got out of the car with my hands in the air as the cops raced in behind me. I remember them jumping out too, taking cover behind their open doors, then pointing guns or tasers at me as I screamed at them, "I'm so sorry. My daughter's in trouble. I couldn't stop. I can't stop." I kept repeating my story as one of the cops approached with his gun drawn, and I don't know if it was the tone of my voice or the look in my eyes, but all of a sudden, he stops and asks me where my keys are. Recognizing that he was giving me the benefit of the doubt, I told him that my front door keys were attached to my car keys and that they were still in the ignition of my car. He told his partner to keep an eye on me. Then he grabs my keys after shutting off my engine, then basically runs into my apartment to look for my daughter. That was a truly terrifying few minutes for me, because I had no idea what the cops were going to find. I didn't know if it was an intruder still in the apartment, or if all they were going to find was my daughter's body, and waiting for the answer with a gun pointed at me felt like an eternity. When the cop emerged moments later, leading my daughter out of the apartment, it was probably the purest, most overwhelming sense of relief I've ever felt. But when I saw that she had blood all over her, I begged the cops to call an ambulance to get her to the hospital. And the one cop who went inside said that he'd wait with her until the EMTs arrived, but the other guy was going to have to arrest me for fleeing a traffic stop. The cop was just doing his job. I know that. There's no way that he could have just let me know. How old's Pradeep? He is 8 years old. Still very spry. I guess, well, kind of makes sense. I feel like cats live forever. The best tamales come from some woman's trunk in a parking lot. Hell yeah, give me some of those. Blame It on George brought me here. Been listening for 2 or 3 years. Don't quite remember. I know, isn't that crazy? Yeah. George was one of the first bigger YouTubers to give me a shot, and I'll always be thankful for that. Sarah Haas with the 3. Thank you, Sarah. The cop was just doing his job. I know that. There's no way that he could have just let me go for starting a car chase, no matter how small it was, but he gave me dignity of just sitting me in the back seat of the squad car while it was parked across the street. Me getting arrested like that obviously made the situation even more distressing for my daughter, who had no idea why I was being held in the back of that squad car. But after she calmed down a little, one of the cops checked her injuries, then came over to tell me that she'd be okay, and that all her injuries were basically superficial. I asked him if it was 100% sure because my daughter had mentioned something about a gunshot when she called me, but the cop was able to assure me that she had no gunshot wounds, just a bunch just a bunch of glass cuts to her upper arm and lower cheek. Again, I felt this overwhelming sense of relief, and for the second time that day, I found myself fighting back tears. A few minutes later, the EMT showed up. Then after a quick A few minutes later, the EMT showed up. Then after a quick examination of my daughter's injuries, she was driven to the hospital to get stitches. That was my cue to be taken to jail, but I was out on bail in just a few hours later after being given a court summons for fleeing the traffic stop. I immediately drove over to the hospital to pick up my daughter, who by then had a line of stitches along the worst of her hands, which ran along her jawline. What is this? I immediately drove over to the hospital to pick up my daughter, who by then had a line of stitches along the worst of her wounds. Along the worst of her wounds. I immediately drove over to the hospital to pick up my daughter, who by then had a line of stitches along the worst of her wounds, which ran along her jawline. On the way back to our apartment, I got her to tell me exactly what had happened to cause her injuries, as obviously I still didn't understand how a gunshot had caused glass injuries. She said that she was making a sandwich and getting a glass of water, and had just placed the glass of water down in front of her on her little breakfast nook when it suddenly exploded. The explosion of glass was caused... What the fuck is going on? On the way back to our apartment, I got her to tell me exactly what had happened to cause her injuries, as obviously I still didn't understand how a gunshot had caused glass... Wait. Jen Childs and keep narrating Survey of Cinema. Doctor Strange, really, come on. Survey of Cinema? What do you mean? Thank you for the 10. Yeah, why did you like it so much, Jen? What was the big appeal of it? Did you watch the movie? Or just the book? Damn, that two-toned color lock hoodie is one of the dopest YouTuber hoodies I've ever seen. You should put lettering right over the face hole of the hood. I love hoodies that do that. Yeah, I guess it's just pretty much whatever, Spreadshirt. Yeah, whatever Spreadshirt allows. I immediately drove over to the hospital to pick up my daughter, who by then had a line of stitches along the worst of her wounds, which ran along her jawline. On the way back to our apartment, I got her to tell me exactly what had happened to cause her injuries, as obviously I still didn't understand how a gunshot had caused glass injuries. She said that she was making a sandwich and getting a glass of water, and had just placed the glass of water down in front of her on our little breakfast nook when it suddenly exploded. The explosion of glass was caused... The explosion of glass was what caused the cuts on her arm and face, and right around the same time, she said that she had heard a loud bang coming from the apartment next door. Now, without boring you with too much detail, the layout of our kitchen is such that there's no way someone could have actually aimed a shot at her. But when I got back home and spoke to the cops who were still there, all became clear. They had already arrested our neighbor in the apartment next door, as the angle of the bullet holes in our kitchen showed exactly where the shot had come from. Apparently, the guy was drunk, or at least some other kind of intoxicated, and had decided to clean his guns while checking if they were loaded or not. He admitted to the whole thing, and Wait, without checking. Clean as go. How can you make your back stronger? Yeah, deadlift, pretty much. Pull-ups, rows, different types of rowing. Yeah, surprisingly, deadlifts is because it hits that whole posterior chain. But yeah, pull-ups probably get the upper back, and then yeah, doing the rowing machine or some type of rows would get the lower back as well. Lat pull downs will make you stronger there. Yeah, there's all sorts of different ways to make your back stronger. I'm sure YouTube will have a bunch of suggestions. Joel needs G Fuel for his energy. Dude, I don't even know, man. It's such a weird thing to me that G Fuel is just like this, like, ever-present brand, you know, throughout like all of like gaming culture and stuff like that. I personally don't know anybody that drinks it, but you see it in like every streamer's like in the background, like stacked. Like it looks like a bunch of fucking like treasure on a pirate ship just sitting back there that they found. Like, oh yeah, truck crash and I just took all 50 cans of it. Even though it's like you're literally sitting sedentarily in your gaming chair. I feel like the last thing that you need is like a heart murmur, you know what I mean? I got the same name as your brother. What's my OnlyFans? I forget. I lost my login info, so it's out there, but I don't even remember what my name is. My G Fuel booty. Ahar. like go scuba diving for treasure. X marks the spot, sir. Finally. G Fuel. You love early heart disease, exactly. I want all my electrical conductivity in my cardiac system just to explode in the middle of a fucking Overwatch game. Do you know how specific timing conditions had to be for that last story to happen? Am I gonna play Overwatch 2? You know, I don't want to, but regrettably, I probably will. I don't really understand their battle pass system with the characters. I just heard that like certain characters you have to unlock to use, but I'm just thinking to myself like, bro, the whole fucking point of Overwatch's like character design was having like certain characters like hard counter other characters. Now granted, apparently you have to have all the characters unlocked before you can play competitive, which I guess might encourage more people to just go play competitive instead of just like being quick play wizards or whatever. But like, I don't know, if you're gonna have your entire game design based around like almost like a card game, but you're not allowed to use those certain cards, it just seems really, really silly. I am, by the way, Survey of Cinema is the class that you take in college. It's like 310 class when you write essays on the paper in third person. Oh, okay. Christopher Wilson, welcome to the Buttersock Cult. You now have access to bonus content. I don't want to play Overwatch, but it's the only colorful FPS I've enjoyed the gameplay of. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't know. I just... I don't know how much fucking hours I have on that dog shit game. But it's just like one of those fucking games that just makes you feel so fucking helpless all the time. Like, it doesn't matter if you just got like 3 picks and you're fucking rolling. If your team is just like, I don't know, fucking a banana. You got like 5 other bananas on your team. And they're all just like laying there in front of a controller or some shit. Like that. Like, what can you do? It's just like, I don't know. And especially whenever you, what's it called? when you play healer. Like, when you play healer, you're just fucking just absolutely screwed to just sit there and watch your team be complete dog shit. It's fucking so embarrassing. Ever played Genshin Impact? No, my friends played it a little bit. I'm not even sure what it was, really. It looked like some type of sort of gacha game. I guess every game now is that, where you just have like an endless subscription just to get every little cosmetic and bullshit. It's your birthday today. I'm stuck at work, but I'm happy to listen to you on my break. Aw, thank you, Bad Cat, and happy birthday. Everybody say happy birthday to Bad Cat. You're an Anna main? Nice, yeah, I play a lot of Anna, and I like Anna just because she's like the most technical healer, and she's like the most satisfying to play. You can just hang back, and as long as you hit every shot, you can make a lot of plays, you know, with your CC with the sleep, you know, canceling healing with your grenade. Like, I don't know, she's just probably the most excitingly cool character they've added to the game. But then they added Brig. Doomfist is stupid. Echo's dumb as fuck. Like Echo is like so. If you've ever played Echo, it's too easy. It's just too easy. It's just endless, ridiculous amounts of spam down mid. You just melt shields. There's no fall off on your damage. There's no fucking like arc to the projectiles. It's just like you play a character like Echo, and she's like Tracer in her disengage. Like, you press shift and she can fly in 360 degrees anywhere, and essentially has like 3 lives because you can use her ult to, like, you know, become something else, get her ultimate instantly, change the tide of a game. You know, it's just like, sure, that's exciting. Oh yeah, and her E is so easy. If you're below 50% health, you just melt people. Like, what? I don't know, dude. Overwatch fucking sucks. Like, whoever designs the characters in Overwatch is honestly high on fucking poop and pee kept in a bottle. You put a balloon on it, you let it gather gases in there, and then you just huff that shit and you make an Overwatch character. Like, that's how fucking bad that game is. Stupid. But I still play it non-fucking stop until I'm dead. Anyways. Apparently, the guy was drunk, or at least some other kind of intoxicated, and had decided to clean his guns without checking if they were actually loaded or not. He admitted to the whole thing, and apparently broke down crying in the cop car, thinking he'd seriously hurt someone after hearing all the screaming. He caught a reckless endangerment charge, which he was eventually convicted of, but he didn't see any jail time for it. He only has his guns confiscated after receiving a suspended sentence and mandatory substance counseling, and call me biased, but I think that he should have been handed a whole lot more. Me, on the other hand, I pled no contest to the traffic stop thing, but after the judge learned of the circumstances and how they were related to the other guy's reckless endangerment charge, I only had to pay $500 mandatory fine instead of having my license suspended for a year on top of that. According to my attorney, I was about... Okay, so this game is like League of Legends. You know, you're honestly not far off. I haven't played League of Legends. I know that it's a MOBA similar to Heroes of the Storm that I played a little bit. But that's the worst thing about Overwatch, is just like their MOBA character design for a first-person shooter. I don't know. There's just like so much like weird game design choices, and the worst part is that it's like it's all like piggybacking their like balance changes, their game design, everything is like based off of like a not clear vision of what they wanted from the very beginning. Because initially it was supposed to be like anybody could be whatever character, and you could have 6 of soldier, and then it was like well, you could be anything. I remember playing for literally years in quick play without a healer. Like, no one wanted to play healer because it was fucking boring. Everybody played DPS and that was it. And then they eventually switched to the 2-2-2 thing, but it was just like all the characters were designed, balanced, and not thought of previously before they did the 2-2-2 fucking lineup. and then not much has really changed going into the next one. Like, I don't know. And just the fucking fact that Doomfist can leave the map, literally goes into space. Why? I don't know. I don't know how that fits into the lore or any concept within a first-person shooter that's not, like, it's literally a MOBA, and then just, like, automatically land on Anna. What can she do? She can't counter that. Like, sure, maybe a Zarya bubble would help, but it's just, I don't know, it's all so fucking corny and terrible. I hate it. And once again, I play it till I have an aneurysm. Ash with the 2. Thank you, Ash. And Sonia with the big $20 Reno donation says, making it rain because it's payday, baby. Hope all is well. Thank you, Sonia. Make it rain, make it rain. It's just, the thing I hate about Doomfist 2 is, like, he's so easy. It's, like, so easy to play him. Like, his burst damage, his cooldown rate, like, every attack he does has, like, some variation of, like, crowd control. Like, the character plays itself, you know? I hate Widowmaker. I think she's the worst thing ever. It's just getting one-shotted from a distance sucks. But at least in your head, you're like, well, that guy's good at, like, clicking on heads, you know what I mean? And I stepped out from line of sight. But, like, Doomfist, like, there's so many weird mechanics in the game that they just, like, never really cared to fix. Like, sliding on the geometry, or, like, doing, like, fucking 180s in the geometry to, like, get around a corner and still land on you and kill you. And just, it's, oh god, it's so annoying. Same with, like, Hog. Like, just, oh, hook, one shot dead, hook, one shot dead. Like, it's just, the game design, to me, it just feels fucking lazy. And then the fact that the whole company is, like, wrapped up in, like, controversy after controversy, with also, like, no money allocated towards the game whatsoever for any new content. It's the same recycled shit every year. Fuck that shit. But that being said, I can't wait for number 2. You're a level 20 home health aide? Oh, really? Do they do levels? It's safer than a Travis Scott concert, exactly. According to my attorney, According to my attorney, it was about as good a deal as I was ever going to get, as obviously no one is above the law, and the cops take fleeing traffic stops very, very seriously. In the end, it was clear to both me and my daughter that we had both dodged a major disaster. In the end, it was clear to both me and my daughter that we had both dodged a major disaster, and it was something that I was very thankful for. But just as I gotten comfortable with giving my daughter some space and privacy in her life, the anxiety of losing her somehow came back 100 times stronger, and it wreaked havoc on my mental health. For the first time in my life, I actively sought out therapy on my sister's recommendations, and I have to admit that weekly sessions put a serious dent in my paranoia and overprotectiveness. I never turn out to be one. What is it? Hey, Fire Tarot, take care. If you're heading out, sounds like you're heading out. The poop took a pee. Pee pee poo 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 pee pee. If you're not a tank, you lose against Hog every. Well, yeah, I mean, like, if you're one of the squishies, as they say, or 200 HP, it's just like, oh, hooked, shot in the head, and then the melee thing. Or else, like, why the fuck, if Hog hooks you, he can do like a 90-degree turn, and it just like loops you around. At the very least, wouldn't it make a lot more sense if that's like because it's clearly not like an intended mechanic for Hog, but they just left it in there because it was like, well, it seems to work for people. But wouldn't it make more sense if you go to do that looping thing, it sort of like has a whip, you know what I mean? Like almost like a whip physics to it, or motion of sorts, because that would be actually hilarious if instead of pulling you directly to him, it was some sort of momentum based on how you moved your character with the whip and, with the hook. And I don't know, I think That actually would be a lot more fun, because then you could just like launch people pretty far or some shit. It's because those players do a line of G Fuel. Exactly. That's what I should have did before the stream. Fortnite was a mistake for me to download. I never got into Fortnite. My old roommate, he loved Fortnite. I think he still plays with his friends. I never was really a fan of the battle royales at all. I just thought it was so frustrating. Like, oh, okay, we're here. We're landing in Tilted Towers. I'm gathering. Oh, I'm dead instantly. And it's just like, okay, before I even get to play the game again, let's take another fucking 3 to 4 minutes getting set up. It's just stupid. I never turn out... What is this saying? I never turn out to be one of those hands-off carefree. Okay. I never turned out to be one of those hands-off carefree parents. I'm still not, even now that she's moved out and living in some fancy apartment downtown. I'll always be her father. Not a thing in the world is going to change that, but this also means that until the day that I'm in the dirt, I'll always be scared. Big Boss Briz said, hello, your stories are awesome, bro, and the way you speak to. Thank you, Big Boss. Appreciate you. You prefer to mainline your G Fuel? Exactly. Give me a big IV bag. Did you ever play Among Us? I played Among Us literally 3 times, and it was on my phone while waiting in line to get on like a ride in like some amusement park, because my friends needed something silly to play while we waited, and it was like that's all I really needed to play to kind of like for the novelty of it to like instantly wear off, where it's like, I don't know, like the idea of like constantly like having to lie to your friends about something and like people like yelling and getting really like upset about it, like it just seemed like a silly board game to me. Like I don't like, sure, silly board games are silly and they're fun, but I could never in my mind like see me investing like that much energy into something where it just feels almost like borderline like D&D or some shit. I don't even know. What was that story about? Basically, the dad was scared to leave the girl alone, and he went to the store and he gave her some space, but then while she was at home alone, the neighbor accidentally discharged his weapon and the bullet went through her sandwich and she got cut on a glass sandwich. Yeah, I mean, like D&D, I can understand why people get real into it, but like I could never see myself like constantly maintaining that level of like enthusiastic energy. Because when you play like any game, you know what I mean, eventually you just like, you know, you see people who are just like sweating at the brow, but they're not even, they're just honed in like fucking like building, you know, ramps and shit in Fortnite or whatever. You can't really do that in Among Us, you know what I mean? You kind of like always have to be a certain level of like excited about it. And I just never was. Your heart is a glass sandwich, and sometimes it be exploding with the G Fuel. Used to love Elder Scrolls. Never got to play Scrim or anything lately. Always Steel character. Oh, like you play somebody else's? Or dude, yeah, when Skyrim came out, man, I remember that was the fucking sickest shit ever, because it came out 11/11/2011, and I remember being pretty busy with school around the time that it came out, but I let my roommate back in college play it, and I just remember every day for like a solid month I would come home and he was just buried in that game, which I thought was cool actually, because I remember whenever, you know, it first came out and people were talking about their experiences with Skyrim, and it was like everyone had a different experience. Like everyone had a little story that they came across, or something that they found, or something nuanced and cool, and it was just like, it was really cool to like see a lot of people having, you know, you go to work and they all had like some different experience. Like for me, I remember going like to the wizard school or whatever up north, and it was snowy as fuck. But then you come across like, I randomly came across a like a mammoth that was like half frozen or like thawing, and you could hear like it was like it's half of its face was sticking out from it, and you could hear that it was like thawing, and you could hear the dripping, and then you know you look up at its face and it's like eye would like follow you and like blink, and I was like, this is the coolest shit ever, because it's, you know, it's not like part of a story mission, but it's just like sort of a story. It's like storytelling in a kind of cool nuanced way. Isaac Morris with the says, good to be back. Have you tried Apex? I definitely have tried Apex leggings back when it first came out, but once again, I am not a fan of the battle royale stuff. I don't know, man. It is what it is, and it definitely has great, I guess you could say, like locomotion and mobility movements and all that kind of stuff. Good responsive shooting. Like its response time to its shooting in my mind is as slick as Call of Duty, but at the same time, I just like, you get to a point where you just don't really give a shit about anything, I guess. You know what I mean? When it comes to gaming, and you've seen it all, and I don't know. It's just all the, like, there's nothing new out anymore. And I know like Overwatch 2 is coming out in like a month or so, but I don't know. I'm just not stoked. And like obviously COVID did not fuck like everything getting shut down. Like I'm fairly certain that like in many ways COVID probably like destroyed a lot of gaming companies as far as like, you know, losses in sales, but also like just completely fucking up their development process. I'm sure that was like one of the biggest issues for like Halo Infinite. And now like essentially the you know, Halo's dead. Like you know, Halo will just be dead. And you should play Insurgency Sandstorm. Game my buddy was, Insurgency Sandstorm was a lot of fun, and I actually really enjoyed that. But that was funny because I always have like some stupid nitpicky thing that I have with a game where, like I thought that game was a ton of fun, but I almost wish that they had more of a mode that was like a, like there's clips of like Dr. Disrespect playing like a Call of Duty, and he's just like go 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 go, like sprinting, and then just like boom boom boom, and then getting shot and be like, oh, and then he's alive again, go 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 go. Like that's like, I love the physics of Insurgency Sandstorm and you know, the gunplay, but I almost wish it had that like sort of ADHD style gameplay of Call of Duty, and just like find some sort of middle ground there, even though I know that it sort of prides itself more on like the seriousness and the ballistics and the communication, the community, all that BS. But like basically I wish Call of Duty had that type of like violence and physics in their game. But like it's actually really weird when you look at Call of Duty as a or you know, the game engine that it's used. The game engine that Call of Duty has used, I forget what it's called specifically, but it essentially has not changed other than some minor updates here and there since like Call of Duty fucking 2, like the World War II game from back on like Xbox 360 in like 2006. Like that's like, and they still use some of the same fucking animations, like the same death animations from back then. It honestly weirds me out how fucking cookie cutter still to this day Call of Duty is. Like, and it's kind of sad. I don't know, because I would like to be into those games, but I just can't. Haters with the Twoses, you don't like story games like God of War, Last of Us? I do. I actually played through God of War, the new one. And you know, I recently got the Spider-Man game, and I have been enjoying the little time that I've had with the Spider-Man one. So I need to go through that, because that's a really, really well polished game, to be honest with you. And Terry King, thank you so much for the gifted membership to Sonia, Cat Queen White, a Russian name that I can't read, Michelle D, and Kyles. Welcome to the Buttersaw Cult. You guys now have access to bonus content. What about World at War? Yeah, I remember World at War came out probably 2008 or 9. I think it was actually 2009, but like that one, well actually is that the one you're talking about? Because I know that they've done like essentially like not necessarily remakes, but just like calling their games the same shit from the old titles and stuff, and it's kind of confusing to me because it's like I remember when World at War actually came out for the first time, unless I don't even know what I'm saying right now, but yeah, I don't know. I remember when in Call of Duty 4, it was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. The year was 2007. I'm in high school. I had GameFly. That's how fucking old this shit is. I had GameFly, where you would get games sent to your house to rent them, and then you'd literally lick a fucking package stamp and like send it back when you were done, which is kind of gross. But and then I remember like there was no late fees too, which was one of their big things. So you could just like hang on to stuff, even though I think you still paid for it. But I remember hanging on to Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare for so long, to the point where they said you can just keep it because you've essentially paid the cost of that, you know what I mean? And that one, it was a very novel experience, you know what I mean? Like in a shooter, leveling up in a shooter, fucking getting new attachments, getting new guns, like that was very, very cool and new and addictive. But then it also like completely it was like in the same way that Fortnite and what's the other stupid fucking battle royale game or whatever, I can't even remember it. I literally see it right in front of my face, but I can't remember it. Player Unknown Battlegrounds. Sorry, PUBG, right. In the same way that PUBG and Fortnite sort of like started all these clones of like battle royales and shit like that, Call of Duty created all the Call of Duty clones back in the day, setting the trends and all that kind of stuff. And in many ways, I think it set shooters back a long way, because everyone wants to emulate it to the point where there's no like sort of creativity to it. And I think that's why in some ways Overwatch was a very refreshing experience, because it was a shooter, but like not fucking, not the same shit over and over again. How old am I? I'm 32. Believe it or not. Ripley's Believe It or Not. You just got back from seeing a band live. Which band did you see? Oh yeah, now you get to use the Pradeep emoji. Hell yeah. You ever play RuneScape or Flash games? My one friend, he got level 99 on everything in RuneScape and got it like pretty recently. But I never got into RuneScape. It seems very, just not my cup of tea. On the evening of December 8th, On the evening of December 8th, 1977, 25-year-old Nancy Fox pulled into her driveway after a long day of working at a local jewelry store. She'd lived alone in a modest duplex in Wichita, Kansas, but maintained regular contact with her friends and relatives by phone. After walking through her front door, Nancy put down her things, then attempted to call a friend that she planned to have dinner with that evening. Yet when she picked up the clunky plastic handset and put the receiver to her ear, there was nothing. Nancy then pressed a finger to the phone's switch arms, hoping that a simple line reset would remedy the problem. But still there was silence. It was a silence that was only broken by the sound of a man's voice, coming from the room behind her. "Hello, Nancy." When Nancy turned, her heart was pounding from the sudden fright, and she didn't recognize the face that greeted her. But she did recognize that the stranger held a pistol in his hand, a pistol that was pointed at her. The man told her not to bother trying to call anyone, as he'd personally cut the phone line before breaking into her home. Then, when Nancy asked who the man was, he promised to tell her if she helped him with something. With his pistol still trained on her, the man explained to Nancy that he had... I choked on my spit. Are there any good games coming out? Like any new anything at all? I mean, I did see. I don't know if you guys watch Donkey, video game Donkey. Very funny stuff on there, and like he did the Nintendo Direct versus Sony Direct thing, and it was just so funny, like to the point where like I know he edited it in a way that made it seem more comedic, but just the fact that like he watched that and then there was fucking 6 different like farming simulators coming out on Nintendo, and then there was like, and then on the side there's like, oh yeah, okay, Pikmin 4 and Zelda, okay, see you guys. It's just a Mafia 4 is coming out. Yeah, the new Zelda should be dope, I hope. It's funny though, because like when I was real young, I would say probably like 6 years old, or no, whenever basically Zelda on the Nintendo 64 was out. So that might have been 7 or 8 or something at that time. But I remember I would have dreams, even though I didn't even really play Zelda, but I had like dreams of Link climbing some like really, really high up sort of like, it was almost like a fortress in the sky, like a castle, but it was also had like pieces of like organic dirt on it that he was climbing because he was in the clouds, and at some point like he had fucked up and like lost his grip and like fell and was like falling through the clouds. And I just remember like after seeing the new Zelda advertised where he's like climbing up through the clouds and like falling, I was like, holy shit, that almost reminds me of my dream when I was like a wee laddie. Miss Molly with the 10 says, Joel, my love, I hope you're doing well and life is all chill. Life here is good and had a good therapy session yesterday, so yeah, I hope you have a good night. I'll be lurking like always. Love you. Thank you, Miss Molly. Love you too. And I've always been curious about, how everybody's experiences have been. Like, well, yeah, you guys can tell me, how have your experiences been with therapy and things like that? Is it, how would you compare it to just conventional, like maybe working through things yourself or communicating with friends or family about your feelings and those feelings and shit? I'll be doing the same in Tears of the Kingdom. Oh yeah, somebody made a good point that they didn't want to show that game in the UK because of the timing, because they thought it would be insensitive, which I thought it was perfect timing. What's up, Ollie? Fairy says not. Mine have all been shitty. Toby says not worth it in my opinion. Interesting. I always feel people like it almost to the point where it becomes like meme-esque, you know what I mean? Where people are like, he'd rather do this than get therapy or something, or like the people are always advocating for therapy. But I like to hear people's like negative viewpoints towards stuff as well, because it's important to bounce things off other people. Got to have an inner circle. Therapy is a great experience. I wish everyone could try it without money being a factor. That's true. It can be very expensive. Don't ever play Shadow of the Beast with a high fever. Wallet therapy. Millie Michelle with the 1. Thank you. GTA 5 nearly got banned in the UK at first. I wonder why. Because they made fun of the Queen or some shit? You find it hard to tell people your problems? Yeah, I guess that is a difficult thing to do. I mean, it depends on where it originates. Sometimes I'm kind of like a chronic oversharer, where I like say too fucking much. But I don't know. I don't really like small talk with people. Like, that's why I'm kind of like quiet sometimes around people, because I just can't, like, I'm not very good at like impressing them superficially with like just really, really quick bullshit banter. Like, I either want to be everyone's like best friend in the sense that like over the next hour I want to dig into like every, I don't know, internal thought that you might have about something, so that you actually feel comfortable enough to like say whatever to me, or just not talk at all, because I don't know, I just feel like all the other BS in between is just, it's not fun, and it doesn't feel authentic, you know what I mean? I wanted to do group and individual therapy for like 4 hours a week on my day off. I was like, no, on your day, yeah, right. I know. The day off is like better therapy than fucking not. But no, I mean, obviously everybody has different experiences too, and I think that they should, for certain, pursue those. The past 3 years I've been doing therapy, and it's really helped me. Sometimes I invalidate my own experiences. Yeah, that's, I mean, we're definitely our own biggest critics for sure. Like I, for some reason, like someone brought up in here one time about like the sort of imposter syndrome. And I definitely feel that from time to time, where it's like I have a lot of success. I'm nearing 1 million subscribers, but many a time I think in my head that I don't really deserve that, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I also just have to realize, I'm like, well, it doesn't matter whether I think I deserve it. It happened, so let's fucking go. When you can tell us a spoopy story that happened to you, whether it be goofy or serious, I'm down for anything you got. Yeah. I definitely have shared a few of those before. Speaking of banned games, they say if you own Manhunt and Manhunt 2 in New Zealand and Australia, you can get a fine and jail for owning banned games. Shit, that's like, yeah, you're gonna walk up to someone on the street, they're gonna have a big trench coat, they open it up, and of course they're naked under it, but they also, along the lining of their trench coat, have a bunch of fucking games from Rockstar. Why did I remove all the classic sci-fi narration? I guess just because most of it was like, you know, like, what do they call it? Like copywritten IPs and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like owned by actual companies and stuff. And I think back then when I was reading those, I wasn't really like thinking about copyright or considering that. I was just kind of like thinking like, oh, I love classic stuff. Let me read it online. Nobody else did that. But that was not smart. More so setting goals for yourself, and they tend to actually listen and help you come up with goals. Well, that's good, yeah. Get to reading. Daniela, I think it's your turn to narrate. S.J. Curtis with the 2 says, it's a slow thing. Therapy shows results eventually. Exactly, you know, and I think in all that kind of stuff, like repetition is really important. Like hearing that external perspective from a therapist or whoever it might be might not initially make you believe it, but honestly, really with anything, if you hear it enough times, eventually it's going to be in your head. It's almost, in some ways, it's almost like a positive brainwashing, you know what I mean? We must brainwash each other into loving ourselves. Send you a mic and you will. How about I send you a stink bomb that's smelly and smells like farts? They brought back Deadly Premonition. Dude, I was just going to mention how much I love the new Pennywise. New Pennywise? You've been live streaming Fatal Frame lately. Oh, that's cool. That's the one with the ghosts, right? Taking pictures of ghosts. That shit's sweet. Pokemon Snap, but with dead people. With his pistol still trained on her, the man explained it. He explained it. Marco Carmona with a 10 says, not sure, but have you done any theater scary stories? Could be a cinema or theatrical function or theme park scary stories. Or since we're talking about therapy, are there any... therapy horror stories would be interesting, but I guess, like, I don't even know how you would do that. Therapy sessions with creepy backstories or stories from therapists. I mean, I guess they couldn't really share that. It'd be a little bit unprofessional. But thank you, Marco. And I do believe that I've done movie theater stories and theme park. I'm fairly certain. I'd have to go back and look. With his pistol still trained on her, the man explained to Nancy that he had a certain medical condition, one alleviated by some very unorthodox methods. The man went on to assure Nancy that if she cooperated, she wouldn't be hurt, and then he ordered her into a bathroom and told her to take off her clothes. After doing so, Nancy was tied up and forced to watch her captor disrobe in turn. And then, in a horrifying exhibition of bloodthirsty deception, the man kneeled down beside her and began to strangle her. As the man choked the life out of Nancy, he told her that she wasn't the first vulnerable young woman he'd killed, adding that he'd slaughtered an entire family before she finally caught his eye. Nancy bucked and writhed in the man's grip, but he only squeezed harder, telling her to stop fighting and accept her fate. Minutes later, Nancy Fox was dead. The following morning, the local police department received a call from a nearby payphone. After picking up the phone and greeting the caller, an officer heard a man's voice saying, "You will find a homicide at 843 South Pershing, Nancy Fox." Then, when the officer tried to gather more information, the caller swiftly hung up. Uniformed officers rushed to Nancy's address, finding her nude and lifeless on her bedroom floor. Then, after informing her family of the heartbreaking news, the police issued a public statement regarding her murder. Among the torrent of tips and information that came flooding in from the general public, the police came across a handwritten letter from a man claiming to be Nancy's murderer. He titled the letter, "Oh Death to Nancy," and described how he was driven to kill by what he called Factor X, the same preternatural compulsion to kill which fueled the likes of Jack the Ripper or Son of Sam. The man finished the letter by confessing to the murders of Catherine Bright, Shirley Vian Relford, and 3 members of the Otero family before signing off with 3 little letters that would come to haunt police departments both local and national. BTK. BTK stood for Bind, Torture, Kill, suggesting the killer's method of inflicting terror was his absolute identity. Yet despite his ravenous urge to kill, BTK managed to keep his bloodlust under wraps following the flurry of media attention that his letter received. For 8 long years he remained silent, but on May 5th of 1985, the discovery of a woman's body near Wichita's North Greenwich Road signaled BTK's grim return. 53-year-old Marine Hedge. What? 53-year-old Marine? The person's name is Marine? Oh, it actually is. Interesting. Would I ever read anything by Saki? Who's Saki? BTS, yeah. This is the K-pop murderer. 53-year-old Marine Hedge had been murdered at home before being tied up, terrorized, and dispatched. But before disposing of her body, her killer transported it to a nearby Lutheran church, where he photographed Marine's lifeless corpse after posing it in a number of suggestive positions. It was quite obvious the work of BTK, yet the authorities were no closer to identifying him as they were 8 years prior when he committed his first murder. Following the murders of the Wichita-based Fager family, Fager? Maybe it's Norwegian? Wait. Maybe Fogger? I'm not sure. Following the murders of the Wichita-based Fogger family, the police were forced to turn to the public in the search for information, and once again, BTK responded by taunting them with a handwritten letter. Although the murders were his handiwork, BTK commended the killer, stating they had performed admirable work. He also mocked investigators for their apparent inability to catch him, and assured them that their continued ineptitude. He also mocked investigators for their apparent inability to catch him, and assured them that their continued ineptitude would result in a cold case. For a while, BTK was right. In his late 2004, law enforcement believed that there was very little chance he'd be brought to justice. Yet BTK had revealed the media attention he'd received, and the idea that his work was on the verge of being forgotten. Freaky deaky Dutch. Yet BTK had revealed the media attention he'd reveled. I'm an idiot. I think that's what they mean. Reveled in the media attention he had reveled in. Okay. What about a story from a mouse's perspective being chased by a cat? Yeah, I guess you could write that if you wanted. Where's Jacob and Stephanie? I don't know. What the hell are they up to tonight? You rock, bro. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Yet BTK had reveled in the media attention he'd received, and the idea that his work was on the verge of being forgotten about was unbearable to him. To rekindle some of his infamy, BTK wrote a better. What the fuck? Do you like horror puzzle games? Because if you do, Little Nightmares franchise is really good. Yeah, I love Little Nightmares. It's like one of my favorite. Yeah, Little Nightmares, Inside. What was the first one that like started that whole thing? It was black and white, but it was awesome. How do I forget that already? God, I hate my memory sometimes. Usually it's pretty good. Inside. Fucking, man, I don't even know. Shift Tyel V2 with a big $20 Reno donation says, given some just 'cause I can, and the band's name is Hailong. They're kind of a tribal chanting bands with just drums and singing. Wait, did we bring that up or something like that? But I'll have to check it out. Please do. Here, if you're on like any social media, just tag me in it. Hailong is great trance music. Dude, I'll have to check that out. I always like that stuff. Limbo, thank you, Nick. Yeah, Limbo is fucking... Dude. So good. Same with Inside. The ending of Inside, I mean, the whole experience of Inside is just awesome. I love those types of games. Little Nightmares 2. I think there's some other ones similar to that, but I don't know if they're as good as those ones. I remember I always just enjoyed like doing experiments on like how you can get killed by an enemy and stuff just to see what happens. I remember like hitting a trap at some point, like that in Little Nightmares 2 or something, there's like a trap where these students, or maybe it was Little Nightmares 1, but like you like step on like you step on some trap on like hardwood floor, and then it like sends a pendulum of like something like swinging down towards your head, and just I don't know, just the physics of that game is so funny. Do I meditate? I definitely do a lot of like, what's it called, like thankfulness, I guess, and I do pray and whatnot. So I mean, I definitely do a sort of similar concepts of meditating, but as far as just focusing on breathing and that only, if that's what you mean, I don't only do that. I tend to not really clear my mind. You like the game Stray? I wasn't a huge fan of Stray. I mean, I like the concept. It was just like, it didn't, gameplay wise, it just didn't really pull me in, you know what I mean? Wait, no refund even because of that? Wait, what happened? Are you talking to me or are you talking to somebody else? Sorry. To rekindle some of his infamy, BTK wrote a letter to the Wichita Eagle under the name Bill Thomas Kilman. In it, BTK claimed to have murdered Vicky Wegerle. Wegerle? I don't even know, man. I hate these, though. These last names are so hard to say sometimes. Fuck, why would it be on Forvo but not have a pronunciation? Damn. Let me see if I can look it up on YouTube. What girl? Roy Wegerle. Is that a... Let's see. Sorry, I have to listen to the soccer game. The football. Wegerle. Oh, Wegerle? Wegerle. Wegerle. Okay. Vicky Wegerle. Interesting. In it, BTK claimed to have murdered Vicky Wegerle on September 16th of 1986 and enclosed photographs of the crime scene, as well as a photograph of her stolen driver's license. This essentially confirmed what the police already suspected, since Vicky's murder bore all of BTK's hallmarks, but a lot had changed since 1986. After extracting the DNA from a skin sample taken from underneath Vicky's fingernails, law enforcement took their first real step towards unmasking one of the most brutal serial killers in American history. In 2004, 2004 also saw Wichita television station KAKE receive a letter with chapter headings for the BTK story, along with a word puzzle which BTK seemed to have personally created. A few weeks later, a package was found taped to a Wichita stop sign. Then, after making its way into the hands of police officers, they discovered it contained graphic and detailed descriptions of the Otero murders, along with a sketch which was titled, "The Thrill is My Bill." BTK also claimed that he was writing an autobiography called The BTK Story, and teased that Chapter 1 would be entitled A Serial Killer is Born. Another package was later found in Wichita's Murdoch Park, containing Nancy Fox's driver's license. An attached letter consisted of the same unhinged ramblings as the last, but the package's contents were markedly different from those that had been discovered previously. In addition to the driver's license and letter, the package was found to contain a Barbie doll. Its hands and feet had been bound with chicken wire, and a small, thick sheet of plastic bags had been placed over its head. It was evidently a recreation of how Nancy Fox had spent her final few hours on this earth, and the media's reporting of the package brought a great deal of distress to her friends and loved ones. At one point, BTK contacted the police with a rather unusual question. He wanted to know if floppy disks could be traced to a particular computer, as due to his increasing fear of DNA identification, he intended to start using them. The police answered his question in a newspaper and posted in the Wichita Eagle and assured BTK that the disks were untraceable. Obviously, that was an outright lie, and on February 16th of 2005, when BTK sent a purple 1.4 megabyte floppy disk to a local TV station, the police immediately analyzed the metadata it contained. One piece of data was pulled from a Microsoft Word document that BTK must have thought he deleted, and appeared to contain the words Christ Lutheran Church. Police also noted that it was last modified by a user who called themselves Dennis. A quick Google search revealed that the president of the Christ Lutheran Church... How much sleep do I get? Well, yeah, I mean, I'd probably be done here by, well, I guess it depends, but I'll pass out as soon as I'm done. I usually get like 6 to 8 hours, pretty solid. The focus is commendable. I do be trying my best. Does anybody else like Proving Demons YouTube? I never heard of that. Bill Nye the Science Guy. I don't know, you can still read stories while live. I get too distracted with messages and not be able to read. I mean, I do, for sure. Like, after I fuck up and I look over at chat and I'm like, oh, what are they talking about? Oh, what are they... Oh, like right now. Twerk it, kiddo. Why is that creepy to read? But thank you. Thank you, D-Shore, for the $33.95 dollarinos. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Also, it's sad that Tarsier Studios broke off from the Little Nightmares series, but I still have pretty high hopes that Bandai Namco will find another good gaming studio to continue. Wait, why would they break off? They had so much success with it. Who the fuck? What the fuck do they think they're gonna... What the fuck do they think they're doing? What the fuck? Wait, why though? How much is the minimum for twerking? Yeah, it's $30. I don't know why I chose 30, but I just set it at that. Stop doing live videos, they aren't as good. Yeah, but you don't have to watch them, Mac. That's the cool little trick there. Little gamer tip for you. You don't have to watch them because the video itself that I'm recording for will come out at its normal time. Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kayla, hey, how you doing, Kayla? Thank you. You're cool. You're the coolest. Thank you. I see. What about doing some stories from penitentiary or jail? Like I have to go to jail to do it? Am I done? No, I'm not done. I just had to twerk real quick. We're good. Any developments on chilling with the video content? It's definitely coming out. I'm not sure when the video, like Chilling 2.0 as it's called, is specifically coming out. But it's definitely soon. And if you're familiar with Being Scared, he is the brains of the operation there, so he's definitely would know a lot more info on that if you wanted to hit him up. He's a very nice gentleman, and he would love to answer all your questions. Just in case with the 5 says, I was wondering how far in advance do you plan the stories in the day before? Or do you think I'm going to be a hot dog as a sandwich? Well, as a jaw. It definitely takes quite a bit of planning to a degree. Like, as you can see, like like for these documentary, like sometimes I can't get enough stories from like, searching in my email for something specific. So I will fill in certain amounts of time slots with like these true crime ones, which require like research and additional help external as far as that goes. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, it's like it can vary on depending on how long those take to compile. It can be anywhere from like a month to a week to the day before. It's tough. It's honestly tough sometimes, like constantly having fucking just thinking of new shit. And honestly, sometimes I'm like, fuck, dude, why the hell did I ever think that releasing 3 videos a week was ever a good idea? Because sometimes I'm like, in one of my videos that's like an hour long is like 3 times the length of a Mr. Nightmare video that gets released like once a month or once every 2 weeks or whatever his schedule is. and then I'm doing that fucking 3 times a week. You know, I'm just like, fuck, dude. Like, he's on fucking, I don't know, like, Stalker Stories Volume 3, while I'm like, Jesus Christ, Stalker Stories Volume 69. Oh, haters, no worries. No, I don't see. This is the thing: is anybody comes in and says a little bit of a rude comment, I really don't mind. I understand. Like, I totally get it. I totally get why someone would come into a live stream and be like, "What the fuck? This is not like my typical content." You know what I mean? And I can understand why they get upset, and I also understand that, like, the anonymity of the internet allows them to say things that might seem a little bit rude. You know, it's whatever. I do the same shit. I'm mean as fuck on Reddit. You know what I mean? But like, it's just, it's all good. I don't care. You know, yeah. And like always, if anybody's not a fan of the stream, don't worry, because all of these will be nice and edited for you at their typical release time. You like the amount of content? I do try to keep it 100. Thank you for the commitment. Greatly appreciate. Of course, no worries. I love you, Let's Read. I love your voice. I love your voice, Let's Read. I love your voice. Thank you. Yeah, just never take it personal. Exactly. Yeah, and it's tough sometimes because I'll like, you know, you get caught up in the negativity. You read a little comment that just like triggers you, and you guys have probably seen me get upset about stuff from time to time. Like, I was arguing with someone last stream about stupid shit, but like, I don't really like to have that relationship with, like, I don't really like to leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth, you know what I mean? You know, it's just like, I don't like to be mean. I like sure, maybe you can be a little snippy initially, but then I like to talk it out, you know what I mean? Like, what did we disagree about, and how can we come, like, what would make you happy, what would make me happy? And just, whereas like you see some streamers and they're just like, okay bro, fuck you bro, stinky poo poo pink sock. SJ Curse, so what's the meanest thing you've said online? I can't say that, it's too mean. It would hurt. It hurt my own feelings. It was things that I said to myself that I had on an alternate account. What I do is I set up a bunch of alternate accounts and I just troll myself in a sort of false flag scenario, so that people come to my aid and I feel good about myself. So let it be written, let it be done. I'm sent here by the chosen one. Is that Pepe the Froge? It gets really mean around Christmas. Yeah, when I start fucking just stealing roast beast. All right. A quick Google search revealed that the president of the Christ Lutheran Church Council was named Dennis Rader, a man who drove the exact same vehicle as BTK was believed to possess, a black Jeep Cherokee. The overwhelming suspicion led police to test a pap smear taken from Rader's... Is it Rader or Rader? Dude, holy fuck, are you seriously telling me that the killer is like the head of a church? That's fucking nutty. I guess it makes sense. Well, not that it makes sense, but I mean, in the sense that, like, evil is everywhere. Raider or Rodder? Oh, Raider. Oh, Dennis Rader. Okay, cool. Joel and Mr. Balin collab. I would like to, but I just don't really think I would have much to offer Mr. Balin whenever he gets, like, literally millions of views on his stuff. You know, it's like, yeah, I would shout you out, but it's like anybody on my channel probably already fucking knows Mr. Balin. But I definitely would if you ever wanted to. It certainly would help me out. Do you do an episode in one take, or is there a lot of editing involved? Yeah, it's a lot of editing. I have 2 microphones in front of me right now, and one has a memory card in it where I start and stop, and edit it all together afterwards. If Joel was the Grinch, I know most of you would have no problem touching him without a 10-foot pole. God, that movie's so fucking good. It's funny, like when I was younger, I thought it was like, this is a full feature-length film. The Grinch. The cartoon one. But then you go to watch it now, and it's like, holy shit, that was like 15 minutes. Your stove won't light? Oh shit, be careful that you're not like letting gas fucking... I mean, that must be an old school stove. Well, I guess you're just lighting probably the stove top, right? I was just gonna say, please be careful you're not like letting gas like leak out to make a big fireball. Do I read or just answer questions? I read. I do both. I go back and forth. You'd bust a nut if me and Mr. Balin collabed. I would bust a fucking nut to get that kind of eyes on me. That'd be finally get some baller ass subscribers from that shit. His name is John B. Allen. Okay, right. Okay, we're gonna get it right now. Mr. Balin. Mr. Balin, not Mr. Ballin. But I like to imagine it's Ballin because maybe he's really good at basketball. Maybe he does a off the heezy, fasheezy. The overwhelming suspicion led police to test a pap smear taken from Rader's daughter at the Kansas State University Medical Clinic. When compared... When compared to the DNA taken from underneath Vicky Wergely... Fuck, dude. Wergely. When compared to the DNA taken from underneath Vicky Wergely's... Why is this hard? When compared to the DNA taken from underneath Vicky Wergely's fingernails, the test showed a familial match. It was all the evidence police needed to place Dennis Rader under arrest, and he was later apprehended while driving near his home in Park City shortly after noon on February 25, 2005. According to the arrest report, a police officer asked Rader, "Do you know why you're going downtown?" with his reply being, "Oh, I have suspicions why." Once Rader was in custody and a sizable amount of evidence had been stacked against him, detectives were so certain that Rader was guilty that they excitedly announced simply, "BTK has been arrested." Rader was then formally charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder in February of 2005, and his bail was set at a jaw-dropping $10 million. At his arraignment, Rader refused to address the courtroom, and a judge was forced to lodge a plea of not guilty on his behalf. However, at the scheduled trial date of June 17th, Rader changed his plea to guilty. Swamp Dweller, I have roared with the pain of 1,000 Shreks. Donkey. I stubbed my toe, Daddy Joel. I need to be comforted. I need to have my piggies wee all the way home. However, at the scheduled trial date on June 17th, Rader changed his plea to guilty and confessed to each of his murders in detail. He offered no apologies for his actions, and witnesses later stated that he was incredibly cold in his recollections. At his sentencing, Rader was handed 10 consecutive life sentences by a judge that described him as pure evil, and he was later housed in Kansas's El Dorado Correctional Facility. Rader is now in kept. I'm a compulsive Googler. What are you Googling? You stay out of my Google. You quit that Googling right now. How long can you plank, Joel? Can you do 5 minutes straight with some struggle? Well, today I did side planks I was doing 30 seconds each side. And they were, it was tough, but it wasn't too tough. Maybe I should do that today for the end, is see how long I can plank for. Well, I don't like the idea of like... fuck, dude. We should set a time thing and then move up, because I'm kind of bored of the squats. Maybe we should do plankies. Walk the plankies. The one time I called a donkey a loser, and then he kicked me in the kneecap and called my mom a name, and I refused to repeat. You must repeat it, Swamp. We need to know the name. Read one step at a time. No need to read too fast. You need to sleep soon. Okay. Okay. Swamp, you plank for 5 minutes freaking straight. Holy shit. That's a long ass time to just sit there. Did you ever see the guy that has like the world record? I think he was there for like over 24 hours or some crazy shit. To the point that they had to put like ice around his like elbows and stuff. Raider is now kept in solitary confinement for his own safety. He is permitted only 1 hour of daily exercise and just 3 showers per week, as he is so loathed by the rest of the prison population that officials cannot guarantee his safety outside of these constraints. These procedures are more than likely to remain until the day he dies, as just like Raider intended, the name BTK continues to live in infamy and has become a byword for the brutal torture and murder of innocent young women. What is planking? I'm not even sure. It's, how would you describe it? Like, kind of like getting into a push. You can get into a push-up position, but you can get on your elbows, and you're basically holding like a flat, like keeping your body elevated and like flat in the air. And it's basically supposed to be challenging your abdominal muscles. Let's start at 1 minute and move up every 5 seconds. The longest I've gone is like 8 minutes before I felt like I was gonna doodle myself. Before the pee started running. Do I listen to another narrator, or do you listen to your own when down laxing? I listen to Swamp Dweller. He is here. And he is soiled. It's a way to slow down time. Exactly. Isn't that funny? Like, that's why it's like while you're doing it, you're trying to like think of ways to distract yourself, to like speed up time, get lost in the song. Holy shit, you had to sit in an MRI machine for almost 3 hours yesterday? What the fuck? How many times a month do you do this live chat thing? I actually do it before every video upload, so yeah. I usually upload Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night. And, but probably not this coming Sunday, because Monday is going to be like a podcast day / compilation. Jackson, peace out, homie. Take care. And see a combat rose. We'll catch you guys later. Bing, does anyone ever use Bing? I don't think so. It is really interesting that, like, I feel like Microsoft would be out of business if it wasn't for their operating system. Because I feel like all they ever do, they're such a reactionary company. Like, someone specifically at Microsoft is always just like, hey, there's a new thing out. We should make an exact replica of it that nobody wants. They're like, that's a great idea. You should be president of the company. Do you remember doing a collab with Mr. Creeps? If you did, do you like the way the video turned out? Yeah, I remember it did turn out pretty cool. It was, I believe it was about like mermaids or something. Like people, it was like a creepypasta about people finding mermaids, but they were like not mermaids like Disney shit. It was like, you know, like creatures Like freaking creatures, man. It was terrifying. Back in 2012, I sat down with my girlfriend, and after 18 months of dating... Wait, what? Oh, okay, I was like, sat down with my girlfriend, and then after it was like 18 months of sitting. Back in 2012, I sat down with my girlfriend, and after 18 months of dating, I told her my family's deepest, darkest secret. 3 weeks later, I came home from work to find all of her stuff gone and a breakup letter sitting on the kitchen table. I learned not to talk to anyone but my sister about it, but I learned not to talk to anyone but my sister about it, but I also feel like if I don't get the stuff off my chest from time to time, it'll just eat me alive from the inside out. I've survived this long by talking to therapists, but at this point, I view therapy like atheists view confessional booths. They're a nice novelty, but they're inconsequential. The internet, on the other hand, is an altogether different beast. Not only can I remain anonymous, but you can too. And just like it allows me to say things I've never tell anyone face to face, it allows you to give me your full and unfettered opinion. Oh, I have a fucking headache for no reason. Oh yeah, bonus content this month will be, it's gonna be like 3 hours of like music that's used in the podcast that's been like remastered and is like spooky stuff. So it kind of gives me a break because I've got other stuff to. Maybe I could stream for the chilling content I have to record. But yeah, we'll see. At least that's the plan for bonus content for this month. At least is a big long batch of new unheard, well, not necessarily unheard, but unheard by itself, ambient, creepy, sleepy music. Not only can I remain anonymous, but you can too. And just like it allows me to say things I'd never tell a person face to face, it allows you to give me your full and unfettered opinions, as brutal as they may be. But I'm okay with that. And that's why I'm writing this, because I don't want absolution. I want judgment. I was 12 years old at the time of my discovery, and all summer, I had this one all-consuming obsession: Pokemon Red. I put hours and hours into catching and training all original 150 Pokemon. Then when I beat the Elite Four and completed my Pokédex, I just deleted my save and started all over again. But in showing that loved... What? But in showing that love... Oh. Whatever, do another collab with Mr. Creeps? Yeah, for sure. Definitely. But in showing that I loved playing Pokemon so much, I gave my parents a way of punishing me whenever I misbehaved. They were great parents to me for the most part, and my frequent misdeeds were mostly harmless. But whenever I failed to do my chores or was rude to my sister, their go-to confiscation item was my Game Boy. It'd go like this. They'd hide my Game Boy somewhere, but I'd always find it. Then I'd get caught playing it and have it taken away again. This meant that I spent a lot of time snooping around their bedroom and my dad's office, and since it was still summer vacation, I had plenty of time to do it. But it was during my little searching sessions that I discovered that my dad had a secret space hidden away in his office. He normally kept it locked, but Then during one afternoon snooping, I found the key. In his office, my dad had this big old antique cabinet that he kept all kinds of junk in, and I knew he sometimes hid my Game Boy in it. So after having no luck elsewhere, I began to search it. I remember sticking my hand into one of the bottom cabinets, leaning in just... Actually, whenever I get a headache, it's weird. Like, I can like identify, it sounds so stupid, but I can like find it in my head, like where it's at, and then I just like focus in on that area, and then it's sort of like, it's like I'm like encapsulating it with my mind, and then I just sort of like dissipate it outwards, you know what I mean? Almost like you're grabbing it and squeezing it and like popping a balloon, and then it's just like all the liquid of the balloon goes everywhere, but it's no longer a concentrated mass of whatever it was previously, and then the headache goes away. It's really strange. I remember sticking my hand into one of the bottom cabinets, leaning in just a little too hard. Then I heard a dull crunch of wood as the rear wall of the cabinet suddenly gave way. Then when I looked, hoping I hadn't broken it, I saw that there was a small hidden compartment. Due to the dim light, the only thing I recognized at first was the gun, but there was also something that looked like a letter and, more importantly, something shaped like my Game Boy. I reached out to grab it, but as soon as I touch it, I realize it's not my Game Boy. It felt leathery, not the plastic I was used to, and as curiosity got the better of me, I pulled it out of the hidey hole to see what it was. It was a journal, this old-looking leather-bound journal, and when I opened it up, I recognized my dad's handwriting. I might have recognized his handwriting, but I definitely didn't understand most of what was written. The entries were clearly dated, but what followed was unintelligible mess of... was an unintelligible... S.J. Curtis with the 2 says, check out Duchess of Darkness for more stories. Yeah, I think, doesn't Duchess come in here to chat frequently? They call that energy work? What's energy work? Would you ever be willing to change your background music of your videos like Mr. Nightmare type to give it more of an eerie feeling? I guess it would depend on what you mean by that. Like, what type of music are... Because a lot of the music that I use is kind of like non-intrusive, non-repetitive, like dark ambient stuff, you know what I mean? I have a hidey hole, and no one's allowed in there. Do you ever get annoyed with the amount of people that say they love your voice? Just curious. No, I don't get annoyed with nice comments. I mean, they are pretty much for me like par for the course, but they always feel good to see, I guess. Like, but it's mainly like negative comments that tend to weigh on me the most, just because they're so rare. You know what I mean? You're in the hospital right now with a back thing? I'm sorry to hear that. Not really psychic, he's just tricking his brain, which anyone can do if they try. Yeah, maybe. I don't really know how it works, but it'll be there, and then I'll just like find it, and it'll usually just go like it just fades away, like getting vaporized. You've been nursing me to sleep with this voice since 2015. Oh my god, 7 years. Cemetery streaker, thank you. Just streaking through a cemetery. That'd be amazing. I always was be afraid, like, you run through a cemetery and it's dark probably, because you probably wouldn't do it in the daytime, but like, you're running through a cemetery. I'd just be terrified to run into like the gravestones. Like, that would be like the dead's way of like getting back at you would be like just sprinting through a thing and then just like accidentally like running into a gravestone that's just like shin level, and then it just like snaps your fucking shin backwards. You're like, ah, oh my god. You're like laying there, and all of a sudden some fucking hands come up from the ground and like pull you down into the loose soil. Or maybe they all come out of the thing, they're like, and it's like this big show of like them coming up like, and then they like pull themselves up. It takes like a full fucking like 5 minutes and like a musical to come up, and then they're just like, are you okay? And you're like, what? You hurt your leg. Do you need us to call 911? What? Ah! You should collaborate with Little John to ad-lib your narrations live. Yeah! What? Okay, I noped out of there. I might have recognized his handwriting, but I definitely didn't understand most of what was written. The entries were clearly dated, but what followed was an unintelligible mess of abbreviations, words, and phrases. There was also these little hand-drawn diagrams of what looked like beds, along with stickmen that had their limbs contorted into unnatural positions. I didn't 100% understand what I was looking at, but I just knew from the fact that it was hidden that it was some part of some secret side that Dad didn't show us. I was so filled with grim curiosity that I felt compelled to check the other stuff out too. First came the gun. It was much heavier than they looked in the movies, and it was much scarier too. I held it like it was made of glass, not even daring to touch the trigger. I then put it back as slowly and carefully as I could. I saved the thing that looked like an envelope until last. I figured that it'd be sealed, but after retrieving it, I saw that it wasn't an envelope at all. It was one of those plastic wallets that 1-hour photograph developers give you, the kind that has all your photos and negatives tucked inside. I figured that it might be pictures of my family, since those are the only kind I've ever seen come out of a wallet like that. But the only member of my family present in the pictures was my dad, and this version of him was unlike any I'd ever known. The first few pictures were of a bed somewhere I didn't recognize. It didn't look all that remarkable at first, but then I noticed the rope tied around the bedposts, and that bad feeling I had started to intensify. The next few pictures were of a bunch of tools, all laid out on a wooden table, but I noticed a few other things mixed in with them. There was a hammer, a hand drill, a pair of metal pliers, all home improvement stuff, but there was also a scalpel and other surgical-looking tools that looked so sharp it made me wince. The next photographs I saw were of my dad, but like I said earlier, there was something really off about him. He'd taken some pictures of himself, but he seemed to be particularly interested in the way that his eyes looked. Wait, he seemed? You definitely come up with something good to the cops if they caught you for anything. Dude, I would be the worst liar of all fucking time. Like, it was always up my butt, officer. I swear. Back from the abyss, welcome. Wait, I'm confused. He'd taken some pictures of himself, but he seemed to be particularly interested in the way his eyes looked, as some were close-up shots. Oh, I see. He'd taken some pictures of himself, but he seemed to be particularly interested in the way his eyes looked, as some were close-up shots of them. I don't know why he didn't just take a look at them in the mirror, but then again, I had no idea why Dad was doing any of this stuff, let alone why he wanted to hide it from us. But when I saw the next picture, I got this intense feeling of dread, and I knew that I was looking at something he'd never want me or Mom to ever see. I figured the first person in the selfie was my dad, but their face was covered by a kind of cloth sack made of black wire mesh, so I couldn't be 100% certain. Assuming that he could see out of it, there was no good reason why my dad would want to cover his face up like that. There was also no good reason why he'd want to use it as a blindfold, and the thought of him doing something like that filled me with dread. But then, when it came to the next few pictures, that feeling was replaced by one of confusion. The pictures showed a young Asian man, smiling as he posed next to an art installation somewhere downtown. The next picture was of my dad smiling next to the same art piece. I didn't recognize the guy, but I did think it was odd that he looked way younger than my dad. The happy vibe continued for a few other photos. There were pictures. Uh-oh. The sex bots have arrived. There we go. Lila got it. She had to take a break from petting... Wait, Lila, what's your cat's name again? I'm sorry, I forgot. Sex bots! Open fire! Oh, do you think Jacob sent those bots? The happy vibe continued for a few other photos. There were pictures of them drinking together at some bar, pictures of the Asian guy looking like he was dancing. He was all smiles in all of the pictures, and suddenly, the vibe of the photos changed dramatically. In the next picture I saw, he was standing awkwardly with his arms by his sides with a look of slight fear on his face. The next few showed him tied to the bed. He was looking up at the camera, and the terror on his face was even more pronounced. The final picture showed a man in that cloth mask leaning over the guy. I couldn't see what they were doing, but the guy's legs were all tensed up and pulling on the ropes that bound them, almost like he was in an intense, that's a hard one to say. Almost like he was in an intense amount. Man, now that's a Trung Schwister. You replied to one of my tweets with "Hi Lung." Thank you, I appreciate that. That makes my life easier. When checking stuff out and remembering stuff, I can just see it as like a notification. I couldn't see what they were doing, but the guy's legs were all tensed up and pulling on the ropes that bound them, almost like he was in an intense amount of pain. I remember having an incredible visceral reaction to that last picture. So after shoving the photos back into the wallet, I tried to put everything back into the little hidey hole exactly as I'd found it. After that, I abandoned the search for my Game Boy, locked up my dad's office, then spent the rest of the afternoon in my bedroom, swinging back and forth between thinking about what I'd seen and trying to forget about it altogether. When my dad got home from work, he just figured that I was still angry at him for confiscating my Game Boy. Only my mom realized that there was something deeper going on, but I couldn't bring myself to tell her what I'd seen. If I did, it would be the end of my family as I knew it. So, I just kept my mouth shut. It wasn't that I didn't want to talk to someone about the pictures. I just didn't know how to do it without some kind of familial apocalypse. Besides, I wasn't even 100% sure what I'd actually been looking at. I tried to pretend that I hadn't seen anything, but my relationship with my dad was never the same afterwards. All I could do when I saw his face was picturing him in those photos, wondering what the hell he was doing to that poor, unsuspecting guy. I assumed Mom knew nothing about what my dad had been doing in those photographs, and I felt incredibly sorry for her. But at the same time, I was burdened with the horrific guilt of being the only one who could warn her, but not being capable of it. But then the day came when he walked into my bedroom and asked me the one question I've been dreading for almost a year. When he asked if I'd been in his office recently, the words sent a chill through me. Thankfully, I'd learned to hide my emotions very well, so without looking up from playing Sega, I just flatly told him no. After that, I hoped to God that he wouldn't question me further, and I prayed to hear the sound of the door closing behind him. But the seconds went by and the door didn't close. He just stood there, staring at the back of my head, saying nothing, doing nothing. When he asked me if I was sure, I just kept my eyes locked on the screen, then gave him the most nonchalant denial I could muster. Those were some of the scariest few moments of my whole life, and even when the door finally closed, I was terrified that he'd be standing there, waiting to have a private talk with me. He wasn't, which was obviously a huge relief, but as I got back to my game, I started to wonder if he'd actually taken me at my word. Then, like a bullet between the eyes, it hit me. Some minor detail from almost 2 years ago came rushing back into focus. After the dread got too much for me, I'd just shoved the photos back into the wallet. What I hadn't done was rearrange them back into their original order. Someone who really knew those photographs, someone who'd pored over them time and time again, who knew exactly which order they were in. This was obviously a huge problem for me, but as I continued to think on it, I realized something. He couldn't actually accuse me of looking at the pictures. He couldn't just outright accuse anyone because if they weren't the guilty party, they'd know that he'd been hiding something. That little detail was the only thing that saved me from God knows what for years, and with time, the whole thing kind of faded into the background. It was always still there, but the idea of my mom finding out about the pictures, of seeing all the heartbreak and the shame in her, I just couldn't let that happen. Don't get me wrong. I was in almost constant terror of my dad hurting us, but with each day that passed, it grew easier to reassure myself that he wouldn't. The next time the photos seriously weighed on my mind, I was in my second year of college. I was on the opposite side of the country stuttering at USC. Were they sticky? Jeez.
Jesus Christ. You've got pretty fucked up mind, don't you, love? All right. Somebody come clean. Who took a splunk on the photos?
Sorry. Anyways. I was on the opposite side of the country, studying at USC, as far as my grades could take me, though. But moving away came with a fresh helping of guilt. I felt like I abandoned my mom and sister to whoever my dad truly was, or at least used to be. I just couldn't do it anymore. I'd spent 6 years swinging back and forth between anxiety and depression, and it's been years since he'd found out someone had found his little hidey hole, as I call it. If he was going to murder us all in our sleep, I figured that he'd already done it. But then, without all that stress in my life, my mind started to compulsively focus on finer details. I ended up spending hours at a time poring through news articles that detailed missing persons or dead bodies that had been found from all over the Northwest. I didn't know what my dad had actually been doing to that guy. And sometimes, I wish that I'd looked at the rest of the photos so I actually knew for certain. But I knew the guy's face, and I knew that I'd be able to recognize him in his picture. but I knew the guy's face, and I knew that I'd be able to recognize him. His pictures wasn't, if his pictures were included in some missing. Okay. Does that sound Australian? It's supposed to sound Cockney. I'm trying to do the Billy the Butcher. All right, love. Well, it was it. All right, love. After you. After you. After you, love. Every fucking day, I think in me head, how am I gonna tell another scary story? Well, guess what? I don't. Maybe it's because I try to mesh it with a fucking Australia. Jacob, what's up, bro? Bloody diabolical. Such a silly character. Like, every time he talks, it's just so funny. Does it sound British? That's what I'm trying to do. Cockney. Cockney is British. It's like some group of people who, I don't know, deliver newspapers on the corner, but like as like a culture. Fucking Cockney. Fucking Cockney. Watch a British soap drama called EastEnders. Tag me on Twitter on a clip, and I will watch it. I'll fucking watch the shit out of it. Fun fact, chipmunks make burrows for sleep and hoarding, but also have me ideals along the way. Did he say cock? Did he say Cockney? Ayo? Ayo? Oh, Michael Caine? Oh, yeah, Michael Caine. Ever since the day you were born. Ever since the day you were born. Ever since the day you were born, Batman. He calls him Batman. That'd be really funny. Bruce, are you listening to me? Ever since the day you were born, I thought about you. I've always had you in the back of my head. I've always considered whether or not your utility belt looked a little bit it looked a little bit silly. It looked a bit silly. Bruv. Bruce. I sound just like him, yeah, right? Every fucking day, I think to myself, whether or not Batman should have. I can't. I'm starting to lose it. What was his name again? Oh yeah, Michael Caine. Hello everyone, it's me, Michael Caine, and I'm here to tell you about Michael Caine. Hello everyone, I'm here to tell you about Michael Caine. He was Bruce Wayne's number one ball fluffer. He would fluff the shit out of them things, I'll tell you what. Bruce Wayne is a 1%er. Get him! Get Bruce Wayne. We must get Bruce Wayne. We must eat him. We must eat the rich. Even if he's fighting crime, I don't care. I will become a super villain. Can I do a Ben Shapiro accent? Yes. Well, first off, actually, that's incredibly nonsense, but I knew the guy's face, and I knew that I'd be able to recognize him in his picture. It was included in some missing person files or murder news piece. On multiple occasions, I considered how utterly futile it was, spending hours at a time reading through random articles that listed the victim as having an Asian-sounding second name. There must have been hundreds from the past decade or so, but when I realized that I didn't know when the incident and the photos had been taking place, I realized that I was trying to find a needle in a haystack. I don't know. 'Eat the rich. But what if the rich ate you first? What are you gonna do? Eat the rich? Am I a zombie? Exactly. Brains. The trick is you can't start a political revolution here in my chat. Where you can do it is on Twitter. Like every other person who screams into the void and accomplishes nothing. That's where you can really capitalize all your letters. You can have, I think you can have up to how many exclamation points now? 4 or 5? So you really let people know that you mean business.
Actually, in my mind, exclamation points are kind of a microaggression, if you really think about it.
Christopher Walken. Yeah, it did kind of have a Christopher Walken, a bit of a feeling to the way that he says things. But I knew from the guy's face that I'd be able to recognize him, and that a lot of people, they weren't a fan of Elon Musk, even if he just gave them satellite phones on the new Apple iOS update. Joel, you saved my marriage. Perfect. Easy peasy. Easy peasy even. Dude, bro, really stop mid-story. I do be doing that. You could do a good Joker voice ledger style.
You want to know how I got these? You want to know how I got these scars? My father was a real jerk,
and I feel like I almost like want to do it like Peter Griffin, you know, like.
Lois, you want to know how I got these scars? My father was a real jerk, Lois.
Or something. Can't do walking without gesticulating. Oh, even if I, go over here, my father, he was a real jerk. Lois, you want to know how I got these scars on my face, even? Nicholson was better at Joker. I don't even remember. I feel like Nicholson's Joker kind of just like, it sounded just like Nicholson covered in makeup. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm remembering that quite right. But obviously, I love fucking Mark Hamill's Joker voice. I'm not a night owl, just currently struggling with nightmares, so I try to stay up late as I can. Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's a little easier to sleep during the day sometimes. Did you know that during the whole time of filming he had hard candles inside his cheeks? Wait, what? Who did? Ben Shapiro? I think my favorite thing of Ben Shapiro is him doing like ads, because it's like so blatantly like he doesn't give a shit about the ad at all. He's just like,
okay, before we get continuing talking about the war in Ukraine, first I want to talk about how much I love my bed sheets. All of us here sleep in a bed. Now, for me, I sleep in a bed that's really, really comfortable. I mean, my wife's a doctor, so obviously we're rich, so.
I don't know. I could have thought of something better for that, but it's just, I don't know. His like tangents from like, talking about like some really serious fucking thing to just like suddenly trying to sell you something. It's just funny to me. I guess that's what I do too. Ben Shakira.
My hips don't lie.
What's the lyrics?
High.
All right. Anyways, we're moving on. But I knew the guy's face, and I knew I'd be able to recognize him if his pictures were included in some missing persons or murder news piece. On multiple occasions, I considered how utterly futile it was, spending hours at a time reading through random articles that listed the victim as having an Asian-sounding second name. There must have been hundreds from the past decade or so, and when I realized that I didn't actually know when the incident in the photo had taken place, I realized that I was trying to find a needle in a haystack. But then one day, on some rainy Thursday afternoon, I found my needle. I don't want to tell you the poor guy's name because I don't know. Add me, dude? What am I adding you on? Cemetery. I'm gonna go to work on fire, but peace and love. What am I adding you on? I'm curious because I didn't see your message, but I can't add people and stuff just because I feel like it would be kind of strange, but... But first, let me tell you about NordVPN. UK true crime ones, yeah. Yeah, what are some popular UK... You could do stand-up with your voices. That would be fun. What's his name? From Cumtown, Nick Mullins. Dude, he's so funny, man. He does so many voices. Like he was doing Steve Harvey at the Nuremberg trials. It's just like so fucking funny, dude. It's like, they did what? With where? Why did you start a YouTube channel? Yeah, I just wanted to be YouTube. I wanted to be YouTube. I wanted to become YouTube. I wanted to be trillions and trillions of petabytes of fucking data just poured into me all at one time, playing anything from PewDiePie's coolest, newest music video to somebody who uploads a video of them just like shitting on a toilet. That's what I wanted to be. Steve Harvey cannot stand him? Stand who? Oh, you can't stand Steve Harvey. I thought you meant like Steve Harvey can't stand Nick Mullins. I was like, if Steve Harvey is aware of Nick Mullins from Cumtown, that probably would make him so just like insanely happy. Do Norm Macdonald? Yeah, so I was so I says to my mom, I come down and I don't really want to tell the poor guy's name because I says to the guy, because I don't have any of you reaching out to his family, and they definitely already been through enough, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's anyways, I can't, dude, rest in peace, fucking Norm, man. What a fucking... I still get Norm clips like popping up on YouTube all the time, and I watch like all of them, every fucking one of the Norm clips is just so fucking funny. And that's the impressive thing. What the fuck is Steve Harvey? He's Steve Harvey. You've probably seen Steve Harvey at some point. Everybody's seen Steve Harvey. He was on didn't he take over for Drew Carey on some show? Or I don't even fucking know. Basically, it's the one where he's like, the survey says, and then people say some wild ass shit, and then he just like, he walks around the stage like, oh my god, how could they even say this shit? And then he looks at the camera and looks back at you, and he looks at the camera, and he's got a big mustache. Trash bag with the one. Thank you, trash bag. You're so broke. No, it's all good. Don't even worry about it. Thank you so much. Yeah, Family Feud. Yeah, Norm was like powerful in my mind. Like Norm Macdonald is just one of those stand-up comedians who like it always weirds me out like whenever you see the number of people that were like incapable of understanding various levels of like sarcasm. You know what I mean? Because it was very clear to me, at least, every time Norm had a conversation with somebody, he was like a master troller. Like he was the master at trolling. Like, but it was really strange because so many of them would take him at his word, or take him at his, at face value so often to the point where they're like, oh my god, this guy is just too much. And it was always strange to me how they couldn't hear the sarcasm in his voice or hear the comedy there. I don't know. Maybe he would face them with certain realities or whatever that they just weren't prepped for or some shit. Things you wish were bigger? The outcome of the show? Steve Harvey is the funniest man on earth, Joel. You're thinking of Family Feud. Jacob, you like Steve Harvey? Big Steve Harvey fan. Steve Harvey's biggest fan. Oh, Being Scared. Hi, I'm Woody. Howdy. Being Scared, somebody was asking about when you were thinking of or when they can anticipate video content on Chilling. And I said you would be the perfect person to ask. And lo and behold, we have summoned you. They did what? Where? In my Germany? Okay. I don't want to tell you the poor guy's name because I don't want any of you reaching out to his family. They've definitely already been through enough. But like I said, I found him. I recognized the guy's face from a webpage, and it was a smile. I swear I'd have recognized it anywhere, burned into my brain after having stared at those secret photos. The article gave a few details regarding his last known whereabouts, but mentioned that the guy had talked about visiting a friend in the weeks before his disappearance. They went on to plead for any information, basically saying that the police had no idea what had happened to the poor guy. But I knew. I'd known for years. I just didn't quite realize it. Incidentally, the answer to my fixation brought up a whole new question. Just what was I going to do with this information? The answer was simple. Nothing. There was nothing I could do that wouldn't have a devastating effect on my mom and sister. My sister was still pretty young back then, definitely not the age to process the fact that her father was, at the very minimum, involved in the disappearance of another human being. There was nothing I could do right then, nothing I was okay with, but now that I had my answer, I could at least plan to do something in the future. I didn't quite know when that might be, and I wasn't quite sure how I'd go about it, but I knew I was going to confront him about it, at least before he died. Yet as it turned out, it wasn't my dad's impending death that prompted me to put my plan into action. It was my mom's. 2 years after I graduated college, I was living and working in Charlotte, North Carolina, when I got a phone call from my little sister. Mom had cancer, terminal cancer, and it was aggressive. She had a few months tops, and that's what the doctor said anyway, and I planned on spending as much time as possible with her during that time. When she finally passed, and the truth of what my dad had done could no longer hurt her, I made my move, and did something I should have done more than 10 years prior. I called my dad, for the first time in what felt like forever, and I gave him an ultimatum. I told him that I knew what he'd done, that it was me that had found the pictures all those years ago. I told him the only thing that stopped me from saying anything was not wanting to destroy our family, and that I wanted Mom to live a life of blissful ignorance before I finally tore apart his legacy. I gave him two choices. He could turn himself into the police and do the right thing, or I'd tell them everything I'd seen, and how I could link it to the missing persons case from the late 90s that I'd found. And the next day, I got another call from my sister, marking the second time she'd been the bearer of bad news in less than 6 months. My dad had taken his own life. It came as a shock. I considered the possibility that he might take his own life before I'd put my plan into action, but decided that he just wasn't the type. I figured he'd go on the run, try to move up to Alaska and change his name or something, maybe even leave the country. I guess it showed how little I really knew him, even up until the day he died. The only thing was, the whole thing didn't die with my dad. There was still more work to be done. I went back home to check his office for the pictures, intent on handing them into the police, but they were gone. I turned the house upside down, even checked the trash for ashes or things of that nature, but I found nothing. He must have destroyed them or disposed of them somewhere, but That wasn't good enough. He must have known that sooner or later the cops would get him for whatever he'd been a part of. So he just decided to end it all and rob his victim's family of the justice they deserve. I went to the cops anyway, told them everything I knew, and eventually received a call back from 2 homicide detectives. They called a handful of times over the course of the next few weeks, a few questions here, a few questions there, but then through answering them, I realized how difficult a task they were faced with after DNA swabs of his office yielded no matches for their victim. There was very little they could really prove, and even if I did manage to turn over the photographs, the only person they showed committing a crime is a man in a mask. All they could do was speculate. Yet, I know it was my dad under there. In my mind, there's no reason why he'd take his own life. He'd cultivated such a wholesome facade over the years. We were on a goddamn roll. Shit. Dear God, Jacob, save us! Save us, Jacob! Do you wish there was a society that functioned at night and sleep during the day, like basically flip everything around? Yeah, it's called New York City. You could move there. I wouldn't want to move there, but you certainly can. Horny Jail is a for-profit business. It's a for-profit institution. Can I get a hoya? You want to take a shot, but you don't? Don't take a shot. What are you taking shots for? Every time I say Steve Harvey. You had a Zoom meeting at this time of night? What the hell was that about? Gringo. Get out of here. He'd cultivated such a wholesome facade over the years, having successfully concealed a past blackened by sadism and death, that no one thought him capable of such things, and he was far too proud to watch it all crumble in front of him. But even now, it's still not over. My dad's since been considered as a suspect in the disappearances of multiple young men throughout the 90s and early 2000s. I've still yet to hear anything from the police or FBI regarding it, but it's still something that's being actively considered. So now, all these years later, I'm faced with the possibility that my father was an actual serial killer, and that my silence following the discovery of the photographs enabled him to continue killing. I could be responsible for an untold number of unsolved murders all over the Northwest, and when I tell people that, it's not enough to hear platitudes anymore. So judge me. Pour your scorn upon me. I promise you I can take it. Because as far as I'm concerned, I deserve far, far worse. Far, far worse. Joel, do you do paranormal stories for people who join and miss them? I think I did do paranormal stories on the bonus content a while back, but the 4chan stories actually have a lot of random paranormal stuff in them if you ever want to listen to those. they're kind of towards like the mid to end video, but there's a lot of like paranormal stuff on 4chan. And was that just story 3? Wow. Okay, yeah. Do I think the sex cult leader is Sexbot? I don't know. It might be like a hive mind scenario, like they all report to him or her. Who knows? I'm gonna go. Glad I could join the stream for at least a bit. Enjoy your lives, and I love the side chats and such. Well, thank you, Salem, for stopping by. Appreciate you. Reddit stories are better. Yeah, I guess it's hard to say because it's like it all just depends on the specific story themselves. Joel, do you do handstands and walk on your hands? No, I'm not good at the gymnastics shit. I never really. I remember like they had that in CrossFit or whatever back in the day, but I always thought it was kind of silly. I mean, I would do like handstand push-ups on the wall and stuff like that, but that was just because it helps you balance. Who here stays until the very end? Yeah! Who here gonna stay forever? Who here's trapped here for eternity? Who here living inside a Let's Read's genie bottle? Creepypastas came from the 4 of Chan. Yeah, I guess that's kind of true, that like terminology, creepypasta. Because then there's also copypasta. What's your bench max? Yes, my best bench max I ever did was 275. I was never very good at bench, like in the comparative sense. I think my frustration, because I remember I made most of my like squat gains back when I was like 17, believe it or not, and like most of my like, you know, powerlifting gains when I was pretty young. And I remember I was dumb. I was like always dumb about the way that I went about my bench. Like, I was so obsessed with like comparing myself to other people that whenever I came in to do like my workouts and stuff for football, I would always try to do more than I could, and like rather than like going down to the weights that I could do and then making typical linear progression, it was so stupid. And none of the coaches ever like looked at the data and were like, hey, why aren't you moving up at all with this or anything? So I feel like I always got kind of like trapped at her. Because I remember even like as like freshmen and shit, like seeing people like put up 225 and stuff, and I was just like, what the fuck? And it wasn't until like well into my adult life was I hitting like 225. You should do an Appalachia story broadcast, enough just WV to keep busy for years. Wait, what do you mean? I grew up in Shotgun House. In Shotgun House? What the fuck is that? You got a game tomorrow. I'm a GTS. I gotta walk through at 7. Love you, let's read. Alright, take care, Esteban. Good luck with the game. Can you be with someone with ugly toes? I don't know. I'm sure you could get it fixed. Thanks, Mo. I grew up in a shotgun house down in Louisiana. What does that even mean? A shotgun house? Is that like a drug house? Shotgun house is a narrow rectangular domestic residence, usually no more than 12 feet wide. Oh. With rooms rearranged one behind the other and doors at each other's end of the house. Oh, wow. I've never seen one of them before. They're kind of yucky looking. Look like something you'd see down in like Florida for some reason, but like just to keep like a beachfront house from costing like $1 billion. Do you read somebody's stories if somebody donates to you? When I first started streaming, I would do that. Like, people would donate, and then they would request a style of story, and then I realized very quickly that I couldn't really do that or keep up with it. But now I just, I have, like, certain stories that I have to make it through for my video, and everyone's just kind of, like, along for the ride. That's cool, Kevin. You should never try to compare yourself to others. Just continue being your wonderful and amazing, outstanding, magnificent. Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate you. I grew up in a shotgun house down in Louisiana. They're shaped like rectangles with doors at the short ends, and they're called shotgun houses because you can fire a shotgun through the front door and the pellets would fly out the back door. They were small homes, built for low-income families, and my mom worked hard to be able to purchase it through a rent-to-buy scheme. But working so hard meant that I grew up a latchkey kid. Sometimes I'd have to get myself to school in the morning because she was working crazy hours, and most of the time when I got home afterwards, there'd be a Hungry Man frozen dinner in the freezer for me to eat and a note saying that she'd be back at whatever time. I didn't see her nearly as much as I wanted to, and I'm thankful for all the work that she put into keeping us afloat. But her being out of the house so much opened the door for one of the creepiest experiences of my whole life. It all started when I got home from school one afternoon. I walked through the door, got my food, and then sat in front of the TV while I ate. I'm just sitting there, finishing off my Hungry Man, when I see something moving in the corner of my eye, right near the front window. Immediately, I turn my head to see what it is, and I notice a white man just standing there, looking through the window at me. For a few moments after we made eye contact, he just continued to stare at me, and then his lips started to curl into this creepy-looking smile. I remember how his face looked all those years later, how the lower half seemed to be smiling, but his eyes were cold. I was so nervous that all I could think to do was look away. I was a shy kid, and I still deal with a degree of social anxiety in my adult life, but back then I barely engaged with anyone, let alone complete strangers. I just waited there, watching TV and trying to ignore the guy until finally his face disappeared from view. I waited a few more minutes, too scared to close the curtains in case his face suddenly appeared again, until eventually I plucked up the courage to walk over and close them. I think I've been sitting down again for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, thinking I was rid of the guy when I heard someone pressing the buzzer to our house. My mom always told me never to answer the door to anyone I didn't know, and that anyone I did would always announce themselves when they called over so I'd know it was safe. So, when I heard the buzzer but no one hollered, I just stayed there on the couch and carried on watching TV. The buzzer sounded a few more times, but I still... fuck. So you're just gonna ignore my comments? Hey, silly goose, do you see me reading stories? So my eyeballs can't be on the stories and on your cry for attention. Call of the Void with a 10. Thank you, Call. Says, it's been years since I've found you. I'm a trucker now, and it would be great to hear some stories from truckers. Yeah, I think I've done some trucker stories recently, but I can't quite remember. But I'm happy you're doing. We need truckers. We need the supply chain going. I heard there was like some deal that went through, thankfully, but if it didn't, it would have like shut down the railroad, like various like supply chain situations with like rail cars and stuff, and would have been like catastrophic for the most part. But I feel like you didn't hear anything about that. Joel, you're not a chameleon. Yeah, like one eye over on the story, one eye over on chat. I listen to you to sleep. You are a lifesaver. Thank you. And Ree with the 10 says, I gotta go. You've been pretty effing chatty tonight. It's late. Good night, butterbean babies, or whatever. Or whatever the fuck. Material Dreamer, thank you, my friend. But take care, Ree, and thank you, Call of Void, again. Appreciate you. I too am a trucker and appreciate you. Nice. Trucking is a cool little thing to do because we need people to do it. Also, I am curious, like, you remember they talked about I remember they talked about, you know, like self-driving trucks and stuff. Is that still like a pretty big threat to the trucking industry, like self-driving stuff, or did they legislate that away, or what's the deal with that? Question, how many hours a week do you put work into the content? Oh man, it really varies. I mean, I guess like the stream's going on 3 hours, so like recording recording and all that, and then editing takes a few hours, and then uploading, all that kind of stuff. So, and then I work on other projects as well on the side. It really just depends. Factory stories, yeah, that would probably get a little graphic, huh? Self-driving cars are 5 times more likely to crash. Oh, really? I thought that their data on that was... Well, you know what? I actually have no idea. So I just remember early on it was touted as very, very, like almost like safer than normal driving. Can you tell me to stop smoking? Yeah, stop smoking. If it's cigarettes, stop smoking because you stink. You smell bad. You smell bad. Your breath smells bad. Your house smells bad. Your clothes smell bad. You get cancer. Cancer's bad, and cancer's not like one of those things where you get it and you're like, oh, woe is me, and you die. You know, cancer's a fucking slow death. It's a shitty death. You know, it's like parts of your body start to decompose from the inside, and you get like black bile. You like throw up bile and all sorts of disgusting shit. And every aspect of life is inconvenienced because you could not go a fucking day without some stupid smokable stick. Just stop. Just stop. Do everyone a favor and just stop. And go for a bike ride. Drink water instead. They have self-driving cars obey all the driving laws, but most people don't. Okay. Cancer is everywhere. Yeah, but like cancer isn't just like as blatantly in your face as it is with cigarettes. You know what I mean? Like if you're smoking cigarettes, like it's just your health is just always going to be worse off if you're smoking cigarettes. Like there's so much aspects of like cigarette smoke that is just terrible for you. Cig between every finger. Just like 10 of them all at one time. Are the transition sounds between stories slowed down version of Taking Chems and Fallout? No, that sounds cool though. It's from it's a website called Epidemic Sound. You might be able to find it on there if you ever jump on. I'm sure it's changed a lot since the years. COPD is killing your grandma. It's awful. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. I remember my buddy's mom, like, she would smoke indoors too. Sit in the same fucking chair, smoke indoors. And then she recently had to have like something removed from her lung, or like a part of her lung removed. My buddy's dad, he had to have he only has 1/4 of a lung left for the most part. Yeah, man, I don't know. Just all that smoking and drinking. Life for you will just be infinitely better if you can just find a way to stop drinking and stop smoking and whatever other destructive habit is controlling you. Just try to better yourself. Yeah, it turns everything yellow and gross and your fingers stink and nobody wants to you'd only get to date other smokers pretty much. Who the fuck wants to date someone whose breath is stinky and poop? And I'm not trying to put you down, I'm just saying those are the sad reality of it all. The buzzer sounded a few more times, but I still didn't move. And I remember praying that it wasn't the guy with the creepy smile at the door. But when I heard the voice that called out to me, I just knew that it was him. Somehow, the voice matched the face, and my skin crawled as the sound of it reached my ears. "Little girl, I know you're in there." I just locked up, barely breathing as he continued to push the buzzer. "Little girl, I'm a friend of your mommy. Now come and open the door, 'cause we need to have a little talk." I stayed still like a statue on that couch. I'd never seen that man before in my life, and to my knowledge, I knew most of my mom's friends, at least by their faces. I think if anyone else had said that, maybe even dropped my mom's name, I'd have opened the door to hear them out, but the guy's smile, the tone of his voice, even at such a young age, I knew that he didn't have good intentions. I was terrified, but I just kept quiet, didn't respond, and eventually the buzzing stopped. Again, it took me a little while to settle down again, but when I did, I picked up my Hungry Man tray and walked into the kitchen to throw it in the trash. As I walked in, something once again moved in the corner of my eye, and this time, I just about jumped back and dropped my tray when I saw it. I ran over to the window and peered out into our small backyard. I didn't see anything, but that doesn't mean that I didn't know something was there, and I strongly suspected it was the guy who had been trying to get to me open. Did you ever be those substance abuse read? What? Did you ever be those substance abuse read? Oh, what are you saying? Thankfully I never got addicted to anything. I've tried a lot of stuff, but thankfully never, I'm out for the night. Thanks for taking time to read messages. Best commenter on YouTube. Thanks, Baku. Peace out. As I walk in, something once again caught my eye, then right as I was looking outside her. Oh, okay. I ran over to the window and peered out into our small backyard. I didn't see anything, but that doesn't mean I didn't know something was there, and I strongly suspected it was the guy who had been trying to get me to open the door. Then, right as I was looking outside, I heard a low rattling, then squeaking sound coming from the hallway. I backed up to try and spy where it was coming from, and it was definitely coming from the back door. I just couldn't figure out where until one of the screws holding the door handle together fell out of its socket. I noticed as it fell and hit the wooden paneling, and then I watched as one of the other tiny screws started to turn, unwinding from its socket, loosening with every turn. Someone, and I bet I knew who, was trying to break into our home, and it was only a matter of time before they were inside. I just ran for the front door, bursting out into the street and rushing towards a neighbor's place, the same neighbor that Mom had always told me to contact in case of an emergency. I started hammering on their door, praying they were home, and the whole time I was looking over my shoulder, expecting the creepy smile guy to appear from behind our house. To this day, I can still remember the rush of absolute terror as he suddenly appeared at the side of the walkway. Side walkway. There's a voice actor. His name is Tony Todd. He played Candyman in the movie Candyman, and he's a multifaceted actor in the fact that he does a lot of on-screen stuff, but a lot of like voice acting stuff as well. Very, very talented, and I believe he even lives in Pennsylvania and does like Shakespeare like live performances and stuff, which is really cool. But he followed me a while back. It was really random. I don't even know why he would, because it's just like he's obviously so much more popular in the sense of like an accomplished actor person, and it's just like I don't know, maybe he just follows a fuck ton of people. But anyways, like I saw that he just got the role to be Venom, the voice of Venom in the new PlayStation 5 Sony Spider-Man game, and he was doing like, an impression of it, or not an impression, but he was doing the voice on his Twitter, and it was fucking cool as shit. Venom, kind of thing. He's really got that like wet gristle sound in the back, and he's just perfect for it. We are Venom. You're addicted to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's good. That's good. If you can enjoy going there and getting your workout in and fucking getting good at it, man. Any sort of martial arts is great because you can just stick with that as long as you can, Just make sure you clean up afterwards so you don't get fucking ringworm or some shit. Fred with the 249 currency from somewhere else says, I want to be a voiceover artist and want my voice to sound smooth and nice like yours. What's your secret, Daddy Joel? I don't know. I guess you just practice it. Like, I always thought that growing up, I always thought I had a bit of a nasally voice, but there were times whenever I would read stories, like during class, like either during school or when I was in church, I would read, like we were at like Bible study or something, and like, someone would, hey, who would want to read? And I'm like, I'll read. And then I would read in the beginning, maybe I was trying, but I wasn't trying too hard. But I just remember people making jokes like, I want Joel to read my eulogy at my funeral and stuff like that. And I never quite knew why that was, but yeah, I think it's something that you just start to hone in on, and you'll find it as you go. You just got to practice a lot, and then eventually those voices that you are trying to encapsulate will come back to you quicker and quicker as you practice, and kind of like whenever you do like martial arts, you know what I mean? You do a move enough times. That's the thing with martial arts, is like you want to be so good at a martial art that you don't have to be like conscious as you do it. It like almost has to be able to do itself, you know what I mean? Let the body take over, and just even when you're tired or scared or confused, like you can still find it just innately through repetition. You want me to read your eulogy? No, you're never dying, so easy peasy. I'll never have to do that. To this day, I can still remember the rush of absolute terror as he suddenly appeared at the side walkway. That same grim smile curling his lips as he began to walk towards me. I started screaming, smashing my fists against the door of my neighbor's place, begging them to come to the door. I hear a voice on the other side just before it opened. Then there stood my neighbor, a towel wrapped around them, asking me what I was crying for. I begged them to call the cops because a man was trying to get me. When they asked who was trying to get me, I turned, intent on pointing at the man with the creepy smile who, just a few moments ago, had been walking up the side of our fuck. Oh, man. I did martial arts for so long. I used to train in my sleep. I miss it so much. Oh. You should, maybe you can do something sort of transitionary to it or something. Martial arts is the best way to get shredded. Yeah, I feel like you just expend so many calories while you're there. It's pretty wild. He played in Final Destination, also in Candyman in that zombie movie. Yeah, I remember seeing him in Final Destination as like the Crypt Keeper / like Death. He was awesome. He was also in an episode of Smallville. He was a guy that like, I don't know, he was like an earthquake man. Like he just couldn't stop shaking to the point where he would cause earthquakes. When did this start? It started 3 hours and 11 minutes ago. When they asked who was trying to get me, I turned, intent on pointing at the man with the creepy smile who, just a few moments ago, had been walking up the side of our house. But when I looked, pointing at the place that I'd spotted him, he was gone. When the cops showed up and my mom had arrived home, they confirmed that someone had been trying to take the lock off of our back door. Mom was distraught and kept apologizing to me for not being there to protect me. After that, I always stayed with one of our neighbors until she got home from work. The guy never showed up again, and I didn't see him around the neighborhood anymore, which was obviously a good thing. But I've always been haunted by the idea that he still thinks about the time he almost got a kid, and how if I hadn't noticed what was happening to the back door, he was maybe just minutes away from being able to do whatever he wanted to me. Oh my lord. I feel like waiting on Joel's mail order bride service isn't going to be something that works as a long-term strategy. Yeah, especially if I'm the only product that I sell. It'd be really awkward, like someone buys me, I get shipped there in like a Ken doll casing, and then the next person goes to order and I'm like, sorry, sold out. They've already eaten him. Probably have to make some clones or something. How many stories left? We got this one shorter story left here to go. How come I always get the sexy bots off of my business? I don't know. I hear a lot of YouTube channels get those sex bots, but it's just annoying. You think they would have a way to... I don't even know. It's so strange because, like, I'm looking at them and it's like nude HD XYZ best adult dating site. Like, what? Like, where's the link? There's no link. I don't even think you can go to the profile, and if you do go to the profile, which you shouldn't, but if you do, I don't even think there's a link there. So I'm just like, what is it even advertising? Like, whoever designed this weird little malware virus ain't very good. Definitely not very good at making viruses. They're clearly not a computer hacker. So are most of the stories you in between Flash and a short story? What do you mean, Flash? Or I don't know, I was kind of confused by that question. I think the scariest thing that ever happened to me was when I was about 15, and my mom and dad had left me home alone while they were into some work dinner related to my dad's job. I was just chilling, watching some TV, when I heard a knock at the door. I got up, opened the door, and this total stranger basically falls onto our porch face down. I leapt back as he fell, thinking the bloke must have been drunk or something, but as I started shouting at him to go away before I called the police, he just started saying, "Please, please help me." I took another step back as he turned his face up, and I saw this huge slash running through his nose and lips, splitting both of them in two. I don't know why it had happened, but he'd been attacked in the street with something. Oh, flash fiction. No, these are true stories sent in by subscribers just like yourself. I don't know why it happened, but he'd been attacked in the street by someone with a knife, someone who'd both slashed his face and stabbed him in the stomach. Within an hour or so, the fella had been taken away in an ambulance, and my parents were back home, comforting me as the police extracted as much information as possible from me. I couldn't tell them much at all, and they left shortly afterward, but that wasn't the end of it for me. I saw that bloke's face in my nightmares most nights, for months on end. In my dreams, he had 2 full noses, each with their own twin nostrils that dripped blood down to 2 different mouths. I ended up painting the face from my nightmares a few years later, and although the painting itself didn't survive the years that have passed, I still have a photograph of it that I might upload to Reddit sometimes. I still have a photograph of it that I might upload to Reddit sometime. Let me know if you guys are interested in seeing it, but I'll have to mark it not safe for work because it definitely isn't something for the faint of heart. Where to send? I have a doozy story. Yes, reddit.com. So reddit.com/r/letsreadofficial or over email at letsreadsubmissions@gmail.com. Alright, my friends, we have done it. We have made it through all the stories, and it's almost fucking 3 a.m. But we must read the outro script. And you must tell me... Oh yeah, you must tell me the faint of fart. You must tell me something funny to say at the end here. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you get a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, r/letsreadofficial, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations and bonus content over on Patreon, or click that big join button to hear about the extra perks offered for the channel. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all of these stories in big compilations and save huge on data, located anywhere you listen to podcasts. Links in the description below. Thanks so much, friends. It's almost the witching hour. Woo! Clouds are nature's weapons. Yeah, that's true. Let's get this bread. I remember. Half the chat is Jacob, yeah. Jacob is all of us. We are one with Jacob. We are Jacob, for we are many. You can always pop your headaches with your mind. Okay, yeah, we'll do that one. Thanks so much, friends. And remember, you can always pop your headaches with your mind. It says page not found. What do you mean page not found? Where are you going? Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Stay right there. All right. Are we doing planks? I guess I could count it out. Should I do planks, and how long should I do it for? I'll do it not on my elbows, but I'll do it up on my arms. Maybe I can do a timer. Can't believe it's fucking 3 a.m. Holy shit. Alright. 404 error for what? How long can you even do it for? I don't know. We'll try 60 seconds here because someone said 60 seconds, and then we'll go up 30 seconds the time after that. If this is too sleazy. All right. I am down on my fucking knees. 2 minutes or too long? Alright, fuck it. 2 minutes. Let's go. That's perfect amount of time, honestly. I like a good challenge. But it might be kind of boring because I won't be able to count. But you'll just have to trust that I'm here. Alright, starting now. So I'm up in a push-up position. Holding my shit. I'm planking my shit. I guess you guys just like talk amongst yourselves. This is like not even being able to see what's happening. All right, we're at 1:30. Well, now dude, I fucking hate, I hate low power mode. And fuck iPhones, dude. Fuck iPhones. Fucking worst battery life ever. You always have to have it in low power mode, and then you switch it to low fucking power mode, and then the screen turns off in like 3 seconds. Fucking sucks, dude. We're holding it, boys and girls. Oh my god. Now I'm up. I can't even really talk. My shoulders are really fucking going. Oh, fuck, man. We're holding now. Oh, fuck yeah. I'm glad that the timer actually... Fuck that sound, too. Holy shit, I hate that sound. I'm like actually sweating. That one actually, I don't know. Out of all the things I've done, for some reason that one was the worst. Just because it's like, I don't know. It just feels like, I don't like ab shit. I never did abs. I never do abs. I do now with the hypertrophy stuff I've been doing, so we'll see what that is, but it's like mainly just lifting. Keeping body straight while face down on a stool. I'm just on the floor. Trying to keep stool from coming out of my butt. We're experiencing God. That'd be so funny. God's just doing planks up in heaven. Getting in wicked shape so he looks hot whenever we get to see him. Alright. My friends, thank you so much for everything. As usual, you guys kick butt. You rock socks. Thank you for everything. I will get this up and edited early access as usual over on Patreon. My alarm woke up your puppy. I'm sorry. I was thinking that too. I'm like, that fucking noise is so annoying. It's gonna wake everyone up. Joel, what do you use to do these streams where it's your voice only? As I'd like to learn. Wait, what? What do you use to do these streams where it's your voice only? Like, how do I edit? How do I edit the narration aspect of it? I have I have one mic that's streaming, to you guys. But then I have another mic called an H4n that records all the audio into it and has like a memory stick. And I take them's data, and bring it into Sony Vegas to edit later. But yeah, early access on Patreon, $1 a month over there, up on YouTube. Well, how do I do it without showing your face? Oh, I mean, it's just you just don't use a camera, you know what I mean? So like, I use what's called Streamlabs OBS, but some people use just normal OBS because they say it's like more versatile. Streamlabs is nice because it's a little bit more streamlined, you know, and has a little easier sort of interface there. But yeah, it's just a microphone to an XLR cord that connects to what's called a mixer that takes like this analog mic, and then it connects to a system that you have like knobs and whistles on there that control the sound through hardware, and then that connects that to your computer, transferring the analog data to USB digital data, and then it goes to your program, and you just there's tutorials on YouTube and stuff you can find. What's my favorite color? I like green. Like when I see people with green eyes, I just like shit my pants because it's so fucking cool. But blue eyes are really nice too. Honestly, brown eyes are nice. You know what? Everybody's eyes are just pretty. If I could just stare at them, that'd be cool. Alright guys, thank you so much for everything. Appreciate you. And yeah, we'll be back. Maybe not this Sunday, but I'll keep you posted. Just follow me on Twitter at Let's Read Creepy to be kept up to date with all the stupid shit that I have to say and or do. And yes, I will see you again soon.